The cultivation family. I begin by taking a concubine and practicing the art of the sun and moon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 326. Killing. Just taking a look into the storage bag, Zhou Daocheng showed a shocked expression and said to himself, this old woman was not wrong to kill her. The resources in it were much richer than imagined. Zhou Daocheng stuffed them into his pocket without counting them carefully. After all, the situation is not completely over yet. Although the woman in black from the Liu family is dying, she has witnessed the whole process of Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Dao by killing the old woman from the Zheng family. This is a big hidden danger. Zhou Daocheng suppressed the smile on his face, frowned slightly and looked at the woman in black from the Liu family on the ground. At this time, she collapsed on the ground and slightly raised her weak eyes. In response to this, Zhou Daocheng's expression remained unchanged. The red snake tattoo on his body showed a slight aura of flames. A cold flash appeared in his eyes. He raised his hand directly to deal with this woman, but the next moment, Zhou Daobai's eyes moved. He stepped over, and urgently stopped Zhou Daocheng with the hilt of his sword. Sixth brother, stop. Zhou Daocheng was doubtful, but he still stopped and looked at his elder brother Zhou Daobai with some doubts. Zhou Daobai did not speak directly, but first looked at the woman in black from the Liu family underground, and then knocked her out with a light blow without damaging her life. After doing all this, he frowned and looked at Zhou Daocheng and said, sixth brother, you reminded me not to be controlled by the heart evil sword, but now it seems that your murderous intention is stronger than mine. Hearing this, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but frown, and said matter-of-factly, this person saw us killing the old woman of the Zheng family. She is a disaster. It is not an exaggeration to kill her. Zhou Daobai still shook his head, and while putting away the bone sword, he said solemnly, so what if I saw it? Besides, the old woman of the Zheng family is at fault for this matter. Even if she leaks the secret, it will not affect us in Wugu. What's more, she has no evidence. There is no reason to deal with us. After he finished speaking, he looked at Zhou Daocheng with a serious look and said, sixth brother, you are too murderous. This is not good for your future. Zhou Daocheng was also stunned. He didn't expect his elder brother to say this. His character has always been like this, and he feels that there is nothing wrong with doing so. Cutting off the roots is the best choice to maximize benefits, but now that he was reminded by his elder brother, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but reflect, was he really too murderous? After thinking about it carefully, I found that there are indeed many times when it is obviously not necessary to kill people and silence them. But in order to obtain more benefits and ensure that everything is foolproof, I will still take action without hesitation. This may not be wrong, but it cannot be said to be right. It is a choice made based on one's own position and values. Just like the situation before him, the woman in black from the Liu family had no enmity against him, but he chose to kill her without much thought. The eldest brother Zhou Daobai continued, this woman also has a large foundation-building family behind her. Can you ensure that today's affairs are foolproof and not discovered by anyone? Making enemies at will is definitely not a good thing. Sixth brother, you have to pay attention. As soon as these words came out, Zhou Daocheng suddenly woke up. He thought that doing everything right was the safest way, but in fact, wasn't this a potential danger? There are countless secrets in the world of immortality, and no one can guarantee that everything will be foolproof. It is indeed unwise to make enemies at will. Even taking a step back, everything has a spirit, let alone people. Killing at will and despising life are also detrimental to future cultivation. Zhou Daocheng nodded deeply and said, thank you for reminding me, brother. I will pay more attention to her in the future. So how does brother plan to deal with this woman? Hearing this, Zhou Daobai nodded happily and said, this woman comes from the Liu family of Moon Lake. She is also a foundation-building family with a long heritage and profound foundation. It is said that there are 3 strong foundation-building experts. If we can make friends with each other, we can get another ally. Then let me make the arrangements. Brother, it's also a good thing to have a good relationship. Zhou Daocheng didn't refuse. To have a good relationship is indeed a good thing for the Zhou family today. The two said nothing more. After Zhou Daocheng was able to burn the body of the old woman from the Zheng family, he took the woman in black from the Liu family back to Tuling Lodge. Seeing the woman who was in a coma and seriously injured, Zhou Daobai couldn't bear it. He took out a healing elixir and gave it to the woman. Based on her current injury, if she is not treated as soon as possible, I'm afraid it will leave permanent damage. Zhou Daobai said calmly. Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, since you have chosen to save her, let's help her to the end. A second-level healing elixir can be exchanged for the goodwill of the Foundation establishment family. This is not a loss. After settling the woman in black from the Liu family, Zhou Daocheng also began to check the items in the Zheng family's old woman's storage bag. This is a second-level storage bag. It can store a lot of items inside, and there are indeed many good things inside. A large part of them were the magic weapons, elixirs, talismans, etc. that I carried, and I even saw a set of earth spirit cabins among them. Zhou Daocheng picked and found that many elixirs and talismans were of first-level quality, so he threw them aside. He only took 2 second-level low-quality returning pills, which are a kind of elixir for restoring spiritual energy. But the value is not very high. As for the magical weapon, there is only one, which is a second-order low-grade black rattan whip. The quality is also not high, and it is a relatively niche magical weapon. In this regard, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but frown. It seemed that this old woman from the Zheng family was actually not rich, and could even be said to be very shabby. She could not afford precious elixirs, talismans and magical instruments. However, Zhou Daocheng found many precious treasures in the storage bag. The most precious of them were the black jade soul-nourishing wood and soul-binding crystal stone that he had intended to exchange at the exchange meeting. But it solved a problem in Zhou Daocheng's mind. With these two treasures, he could indeed try to delve into the second-level spirit puppet array. In addition, Zhou Daocheng also found a lot of monster materials, which should be monsters hunted after entering the 100 insects poison swamp. Among them, there were more than a dozen first-level high-quality monsters. Although the value was not high, even if it was exchanged for contribution points, it should not exceed 50, but Zhou Daocheng accepted them without hesitation. These monster materials were not suitable for exchange for contribution points. It was better to bring them back to Wugu so that the Zhou family could refine them into magic tools. Whether they were sold or equipped with Wugu's combat power, the value was far higher than the contribution points. In addition, there were 2 second-level low-quality monster corpses, whose strength should be equivalent to the first level of foundation building, and the value was not low. Zhou Daocheng also collected them all. However, among all the items, the most precious one was an exquisite sapling. When Zhou Daocheng saw the sapling, his eyes lit up a little, as if he was a little unbelievable. When he took out the tree and placed it in front of his eldest brother Zhou Daobai also rubbed his eyes in disbelief, as if he was a little unsure of the species of the sapling. Chapter 327 Lingzu Tree. Brother, is this the legendary spiritual plant? I don't seem to be sure. Zhou Daocheng asked tentatively. Zhou Daobai looked at it again and again, but he was still a little unsure, and said ambiguously, it does look like it, but I have never seen it before. If it is really that kind of spiritual plant, then we will make a fortune. Now, the two were talking. A cough suddenly came from the bed next to him, followed by a faint voice. It is indeed the spiritual plant you think of, the spiritual longevity tree. Zhou Daocheng heard the name, and a trace of excitement flashed in his eyes. He looked at the woman on the bed with some surprise and said, is it really the spiritual longevity tree? The black-clothed woman of the Liu family who had woken up slightly weakly and said, I found it in an underground cave, but the old woman of the Zheng family found it, attacked me, and snatched the spiritual plant away. Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly. It was no wonder that the old woman of the Zheng family was so persistent. This level of spiritual plant was worth risking her life to snatch. The Lingzu tree is an extremely precious second-level spiritual tree. When it grows up, it generally reaches the peak of the second-level upper grade. The one in front of him is only the second-level middle grade, and it should take a long time to mature. After it is fully mature, It will bear fruit every 50 years. The fruit is called Lingzhi fruit. Lingzhi fruit has extremely precious value. It can be refined into the second-level upper-grade Lingzhi pill, which can add 20 years of life to the life of the foundation-building cultivator. Its value is much more precious than the foundation-building pill to a certain extent. It is truly a gift from heaven and earth, and it is also one of the few second-level pills that can increase life. Even if it is not refined into a pill, the Lingzhi fruit can directly increase life by 10 years. But most people will not waste it like this. Zhou Daocheng could not hide his excitement. If the Zhou family had this spiritual tree, it would definitely greatly increase its foundation. What does this mean? It means that every foundation-building strong man of the Zhou family will have an extra 20 years of life and the cultivators of the same level in the future, which makes the probability of breaking through the purple mansion higher and makes the Zhou family's inheritance more stable. Maybe in 1 or 2 generations, not much change can be seen, but if you want to become a 1000-year family, you must look at the long-term. Lifespan is the most precious thing in the entire world of immortal cultivation, and all items that can increase lifespan are of unimaginable value. If you take out a Lingzhi pill and auction it at the auction house, it is easy to get a price of more than 100,000. If you take out a Lingzhi pill and auction it at the auction house, it is easy to get a price of more than 100,000. You give the Lingzhi pill to the powerful Zaifu family, it is not difficult to exchange it for a foundation-building pill, and you will even gain the favor of the Zaifu family. No matter from which aspect, the value of this sapling is far beyond imagination. Not daring to be careless, Zhou Daocheng hurriedly walked out of the Tuling house, took a batch of spiritual soil from outside, and then directly mixed it with spiritual liquid and honey to make it into a high-quality spiritual soil, and then wrapped it on the rhizome of the Lingzhi tree to ensure that it can survive. Even at this moment, Zhou Daocheng had the idea of returning directly to the Fog Valley, because there was no need to take risks in the 100 Insects Poison Swamp. What is the purpose of coming to the 100 Insects Poison Swamp and hunting wild beasts in a dangerous environment? Isn't it for the purpose of exchanging for the foundation-building pill? However, the value of the Lingzhi tree has exceeded the foundation-building pill to a certain extent. If the Lingzhi fruit can be grown successfully, it can be easily exchanged for the foundation-building pill. However, considering that they are cleaning up monsters for the Wang family of Canyon Mountain after all, it is not appropriate to withdraw at will. They can only suppress their excitement and temporarily put away the idea of going home. However, at this time, Zhou Daocheng looked at the black-clothed woman of the Liu family with a hint of murderous intent. Zhou Daobai, who was standing aside, naturally sensed it clearly, but did not stop it, and his expression was a little struggling. Because the value of the Lingzhi tree is so high and the impact it can bring is so great that it may bring a catastrophe if it is not careful. Even if it is the Purple Mansion forces, if they know that Wu Gu has such a treasure, I am afraid they will also snatch it. Faintly sensing the danger, the black-clothed woman of the Liu family obviously understood her situation and hurriedly said, I was able to survive this time thanks to the 2 Taoist friends who rescued me. Since the Lingzhi tree is in the hands of the 2 Taoist friends, it naturally belongs to the 2 of you. I will never leak this matter. Zhou Daocheng did not hide it, and said in a slightly low voice, if it was something else, it would be fine, but this is a Lingzhi tree. How can you let me believe you? The black-clothed woman of the Liu family gritted her teeth and said, I am Liu Kainaiu of the Liu family. Heaven is above. I swear by my heart of Taoism that from now on, if I leak the matter of the Lingzhi tree in any way, my cultivation will not improve at all and I will die of demonic possession. Zhou Daocheng was stunned. He did not expect that the other party would actually swear a poisonous oath. In the world of cultivating immortals, blaming heaven and swearing by one's own heart of Taoism is extremely binding, and it will indeed be controlled by the dark. If you break the oath, you will be punished by heaven. At least, if you break your oath, you will be disturbed by various demons in your heart when you break through the realm in the future. Even if you practice normally, you may enter a state of demonic possession. There were evil cultivators who thought they were lawless and swore by the way of heaven and the heart of the Tao at will. Later, they broke their oaths at will, which led to them being struck to death by lightning during their practice without any signs or resistance. This kind of restraint from the unknown can completely restrain cultivators, and few people dare to swear easily. However, Zhou Daocheng seemed to be still uneasy, and said, "Please add one more sentence, Miss Lu. If Miss Lu breaks her oath, the Lu family will be destroyed, blood will flow like a river, and the family will be exterminated." Lu Kainayu was stunned, gritted her teeth, hesitated for a long time, and finally added this sentence according to what Zhou Daocheng said. It's not that Zhou Daocheng is suspicious, but for many people in the family, the interests of the family are higher than personal interests. It is not impossible to exchange one's life for the future of the family. But even if he swore so, Zhou Daocheng was still a little worried, and he had the intention to kill many times, but he restrained himself in the end. Finally, he sighed and thought helplessly in his heart, maybe what the eldest brother said is indeed right. It is not a good thing to have too much murderous intention. It is necessary to restrain it. Since Lu Kainayu swore a poisonous oath, Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai didn't say anything more, but Lu Kainayu hesitated for a moment and suddenly spoke. "My two Taoist friends, I will definitely not disclose the matter of the Lingzhu tree, but I have a request that I hope you can agree to. Tell me, if we can reach an agreement, I can agree." Zhou Daobai said calmly. Chapter 328 Lu Family Allies. Lu Kainayu nodded and said, "Although the other two foundation building experts of my Lu family are only over 80 years old, they were seriously injured in a war, so they lost a little life. It is estimated that they can only live to 160 years old. 70 years old, if it's possible. When the Lingzhu tree bears fruit, can you sell 2 foundation establishment pills to my Lu family, since my Lu family will be grateful." After hearing this, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai thought for a while and said, "If your Lu family is willing to form an alliance with me in Wugu, exchange needs, cooperate with each other, become allies, and even marry each other, maybe we can agree to this. After all, it is impossible to sell such a precious elixir to the enemy." Lu Kainayu just thought about it briefly, and I immediately agreed and said, "No problem. I will go back and talk to the Lu family at this time. It shouldn't be a problem." No matter from which aspect, Lu Kainayu would not choose to refuse. After all, the identity of Wu Yifang City today is not simple. On the one hand, it is its status in the Wang family of Cayenne Mountain, as the earliest force to stand in line. Its status will be more or less higher than other forces, and it will also receive the attention of the Wang family. On the other hand, Wu Yifang City is located outside the East Great Wilderness and is the closest small city to Donglin Fang City. It has great potential in itself. Finally, the combat power possessed by Wu Yifang City cannot be underestimated. It has risen in just a few years and has 3 strong foundation builders. Even compared to the Moon Lake Lu family, which has been inherited for hundreds of years, it is only between the two. Lu Kainayu also dreamed of being able to make friends with such an emerging force. After the two parties confirmed their relationship, the atmosphere at the scene relaxed a lot. Lu Kainayu said, "Fellow Taoist Wugu, fellow Taoist Zhu, what are you going to do next? If we are hunting monsters nearby, maybe we can act together to ensure safety. Sex can also be improved." After Zhou Daocheng thought for a while, he said, "We shouldn't stay here for too long, or we will continue to go deeper to the east." Continue to the east? There may be mid-level second-order monsters there. The danger is too great, so Lu will not go there with us. After Lu Kainayu thought about it, she still did not choose to act with Zhou Daocheng and others. Zhou Daocheng didn't try to stay. Lu Kainayu's joining would be very troublesome. After all, Wugu cannot act as he pleases and needs to discuss with the Desu sect and the Spirit Snake sect. Their 3 parties are still true allies and it is impossible to change the plan because of Lu Kainayu. Even taking a step back, if Lu Kainayu is allowed to join Wugu's team, how will the final harvest be distributed? As for letting Lu Kainayu act alone, she can't stand on her own strength, so her existence is very embarrassing, and it is better to act on her own. As for the combined combat power of Wugu, Spirit Snake sect, and Desu sect, there are 6 foundation building experts, enough to explore deeper areas, and naturally look for more valuable heavenly materials and earthly treasures. However, despite this plan, Zhou Daocheng did not leave Lu Kainaiyu. Instead, he rested for 2 days and waited for Lu Kainaiyu to regain her strength before saying goodbye to her. At the same time, the Tuling cottage in the old woman's storage bag of the Zheng family was given to Lu Kainaiyu so that she could gain a foothold in the wild environment. Lu Kainaiyu was also quite emotional. After thanking him, he left alone, while Zhou Daocheng and others were officially on their way. On the other side, the Spirit Snake sect and the Dessous sect had also rested for 2 days to recuperate their energy. Then the three parties met briefly to determine the next action, and then went deep into the poisonous insect swamp together. The current location of everyone is already in a relatively deep area of the 100 insect poison swamp. If you look at the map, you should have crossed the Great Eastern Wilderness and officially entered this unexplored wilderness. The three forces still operate separately, but the distance between them is closer, only about 3 kilometers, ensuring that they can support each other no matter what happens. The deeper you go, the smaller and worse the surrounding environment becomes. An extremely strong miasma permeates the woods. The powerful giant trees are intertwined with each other, like dark pythons surrounding the moist forest. The thick trunks support the dense canopy. Everything seems to be. It was dark and gloomy, with only the sound of rustling leaves mixed with the sound of insects crawling by. Under the damp leaves and weeds on the ground were slippery, wet mud, as well as dead vines and trees. It was extremely difficult to walk in it, and it was extremely hot and oppressive. No one dares to be careless, because the real dangers here are all kinds of highly poisonous insects and plants. There are even some special elixirs that are only of the first level, but the toxins in them are effective on foundation building experts. If the toxins cannot be discharged with true energy in time, even foundation building experts will be greatly damaged. What's even more frightening is that even if some toxins are poisoned, they will not be discovered for a short time, but once the toxins spread, they are almost impossible to treat. Along the way, even though they were very careful, 2 team members who were at the 8th level of chi refining were still touched by a dark green butterfly. In the end, they were directly exposed to corrosive toxins, and their whole bodies rotted to death. So far, there are a total of 50 people in the 5 hunting teams, and 14 people have died. The losses are not small. These people are all the elites Wu Gu has accumulated over the years. Zhou Daocheng is heartbroken every time someone dies. But it is impossible to stop. We can only be as careful as possible to ensure everyone's safety. This situation not only happened to Wu Gu, but also to the Dessous sect and the Spirit Snake sect, and the losses were even greater. Especially the Earthly Evil sect, which directly brought in 8 hunting teams. It was difficult to take care of everyone's safety, so the mortality rate was the highest, and 20 disciples had already been lost. Lindsay Owen's face was dark, and he regretted bringing so many people in. From the current situation, it is the best choice not to bring any chi refining cultivators. After all, they are too weak and it is difficult to protect themselves in the current environment. However, at this point, the three forces can only bite the bullet and rush forward. After walking for about half a day, Zhou Daocheng encountered the first second-level monster, which was a huge butterfly. The hole was dark green. It was hard to tell what kind it was, but the aura was extremely powerful. Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai took a look and took a few steps back in fear, because the strength of this monster had reached the middle stage of the second level, which was equivalent to the 4th to 5th level of foundation building. Faced with this situation, Zhou Daocheng did not hesitate to contact the Earthly Evil sect and the Spirit Snake sect. Only by joining forces could the three parties solve this powerful monster. If it can be successfully killed, it will definitely gain a lot. However, after contacting each other for 2 cups of tea, there was no response from the other 2 parties. Zhou Daocheng frowned immediately, having a bad feeling. Chapter 329, Strange Forest. Under the current situation, the 3 parties will naturally increase the frequency of contact after just going deep into the poisonous swamp of hundreds of insects. How could they not respond? Not long after, Lindsay Owen took the lead in replying. After seeing the content of the reply, Zhou Daocheng's face turned green. Lindsay Owen, fellow Taoist Wu Gu, We are being chased by a group of second-level blood-sucking spirit mosquitoes whose names we can't tell. We don't know where they are running to. We shouldn't be able to go back in a short time. We are currently running out." Zhou Daocheng's face was heavy. It was too coincidental that the two forces encountered second-level monsters at the same time, which made the situation worse. But now it seems that the current environment is indeed dangerous, and the number of powerful monsters has increased dramatically, even making it difficult for the three forces to resist. Moreover, Lin Ziyuan was attacked by a group of second-level mosquitoes, and he ran away directly without even having time to send a communication, which means that the situation must be very critical. On the other hand, the Spirit Snake sect has not responded, which also makes Zhou Daocheng upset. In order to ensure their own safety, Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai did not dare to act rashly and retreated to the rear, as far away from this second-stage intermediate butterfly monster as possible. And around, they began to look for traces of the earthly evil sect and the spirit snake sect. No matter what the situation was, at least find the allies first, or determine the next direction of action. Not long after, Zhou Daocheng found the traces left by the earthly evil sect. A lot of blood was spilled on the dead leaves. There were also several corpses wearing earthly evil sect costumes around, and a series of messy footprints. It seemed that the situation was very urgent at the time. At the same time, several giant mosquitoes more than 1 meter long were found in the swamp pond not far away. They looked hideous and terrifying, much more terrifying than the purple armored swallowing spirit ants, and their half-meter-long mouthparts were stained with blood. Zhou Daocheng searched along the footsteps and found that the earthly evil sect had completely gone far away. It should not be caught up in a short time, so he could only sigh helplessly and give up. Finally, traces of the spirit snake sect were found in an area not far away. Compared to the sudden attack on the Disu sect, the Lynx sect did not seem to be in any danger. There were only neat footsteps on the ground, but when the footsteps reached a certain pond, they disappeared completely. When I looked up, I found that the miasma around me was extremely dense, as if it was steaming water vapor. You were in the dim forest, exuding a mysterious and terrifying atmosphere. Although he did not feel the danger obviously, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but shudder and took a step back. On the side, Zhou Daobai couldn't help frowning and said, "Misfortunes never come alone. It seems that the Lynx sect is also in trouble. I didn't expect that I would encounter danger again after walking for half a day." Zhou Daocheng also sighed helplessly, with a trace of fear in his eyes. In such a short time, he encountered big monsters one after another, and the whereabouts of the Lynx sect were unknown, which made him more and more afraid of the 100 insects poison swamp. What should I do next? Retreat? Or continue to move forward? Zhou Daobai looked at the surrounding environment and felt more and more weird, and asked. Zhou Daocheng thought for a while and tried to use the Wu Earth spiritual chi to see the situation around him. After only 2 seconds, his face changed suddenly, and then he quickly turned his head to look in all directions. Seeing this scene, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai couldn't help frowning, carefully looking at the surrounding environment, and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" Zhou Daocheng's breathing became heavy, and he said in a deep voice, "The environment here is different from when we first came." Zhou Daobai's soared eyebrows moved, and he said in disbelief, "How is it possible? We didn't move at all. Is there a formation here?" Zhou Daocheng thought about it, but finally shook his head. "Impossible. If there is a formation, I will more or less notice the abnormality, and it is absolutely impossible to find nothing. Indeed, if it is a powerful formation like the natural maze of the Fog Valley, it can change the terrain silently, but as a second-level formation master, if you want Zhou Daocheng to be completely unaware, it must be at least a third-level top-grade formation." But Zhou Daocheng doesn't think that the situation here is a formation. After carefully checking the surroundings, Zhou Daocheng found that the miasma around he was getting thicker and thicker. He did not make any movement, but the surrounding environment was constantly changing. Other people around him had obviously noticed this. Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan and others had sweat on their foreheads. They all gathered together and had noticed that something was wrong here. Zhou Daocheng felt even more regretful. secretly saying that he was not careful. When he found that the spirit snake sect disappeared for no reason, he should have left the area immediately instead of staying there. Now it seems that the situation here is indeed a bit troublesome. Just by approaching here, he was directly trapped in it, and he did not notice anything unusual. Perhaps the spirit snake sect at that time also encountered the same situation. Zhou Daocheng looked grim. Facing such a strange situation, he did not dare to act rashly. After exchanging a glance with Zhou Daocheng, he was also a little undecided and asked, "What should we do?" Zhou Daocheng shook his head, sweat on his temples. "I don't know. I don't understand the situation, and I don't have a way to deal with it." "How about withdrawing? Let's give it a try." The two of them had no other options, but they knew that staying in the same place was definitely not a solution, and they might fall into a more dangerous situation. So after thinking for a long time, they still tried to retreat and tried to return from the original route. But when they looked back, they found that the road behind them was also shrouded in miasma. And what was even more special was that he could not see any footprints from the way he came. Zhou Daocheng was sweating profusely, swallowed his saliva, and resolutely walked in the direction he came from. Passing through layers of fog, the whole forest was silent, so quiet that it was frightening. There was no sound of insects or birds, and even the wind had stopped, without any sound. Only when everyone walked, their feet made friction sounds in the mud. No one spoke either. In the current situation, everyone was nervous. "I didn't want to get out of this weird area as soon as possible. But the situation is often not as expected. 2 whole days. The group walked in the thick miasma for 2 whole days. The surrounding situation kept changing, but the only thing that remained unchanged was the extremely thick miasma. Fortunately, the miasma here is non-toxic. Otherwise, with the cultivation of a chi refining cultivator, without enough detoxification pills, he would probably die in the toxins of the miasma. Finally, when he saw the night was getting dark again, Zhou Daocheng stopped directly and dared not continue to move. "We can't go any further, or the situation will only get worse." Zhou Daocheng looked up at the dense jungle, feeling extremely depressed. Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "Let's set up the Earth Spirit House. The situation is a bit complicated now, so we can't act rashly." Chapter 330 Forced to Stay. In the back, the atmosphere of the 5 hunting teams led by Meng Yushan and others was extremely depressing. Although no one died, the atmosphere was even more depressing than that of the dead. Everyone was silent and began to arrange the Earth Spirit House. When the Earth Yellow formation was built, everyone entered the Earth House and saw the familiar Earth Spirit House room. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief and seemed to feel a sense of security. Being able to see the familiar cave in a completely unfamiliar environment gave everyone some spiritual comfort. It seemed that only by hiding in it could the fear in their hearts be relieved. Even Zhou Daocheng felt a little relieved inexplicably, because this special area was so weird that he was completely confused. When standing still, the surrounding environment changed by itself and was completely out of control. After starting to move, he found that he could not get out of the miasma area at all, and could only be forced to circle in it. Moreover, the dead silence here was also very special, which aroused the most original fear in people's hearts. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng still felt that it was safer to hide in the small house of the Earth Spirit. It was at least safer to stay still than to wander around. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng, Zhou Daocheng, and the 5 hunting team captains gathered in a room and talked with low eyes. Zhou Daocheng sighed deeply and said, "Lord of the Fog Valley, can you see the clues of the environment here?" Zhou Daocheng shook his head. "It's too special. It's not a formation. It should be a pure natural environment. I can't understand the changes at all." Then, he looked at the others and asked, "Did you find anything?" Meng Yushan and others shook their heads and said, "No, it seems that there is no danger here, and I haven't even seen the monsters, but the feeling in the dark makes me tremble all over, as if there is a great danger hidden around." Everyone was silent. This was the most intuitive feeling. Even if you faced a second-stage late-stage monster directly, Zhou Daocheng would not be too scared. What was really scary was the unknown, the complete lack of understanding, and the inability to grasp the surrounding situation. At this moment, Everyone seemed to be trapped in a fog, and they couldn't see what they had encountered at all, which was the most terrifying thing. After a long silence, the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng looked at Zhou Daocheng and asked, "What are your plans? Should we continue to rush to find an exit, or stay where we are?" After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng said, "We can't continue to wander around, otherwise we may get deeper and deeper and never get out. Let's stop first and think about it from beginning to end. Is there anything we haven't noticed?" "Didn't notice this?" Everyone fell into deep thought, thinking hard for a long time, but there was no clear answer. Lin Yuan touched his chin and suddenly said ambiguously, "I did find something, but I don't know if it's right." Zhou Daocheng's eyes lit up and said, "Whether it's right or not, tell me first, maybe it's useful." Lin Yuan scratched his head and said, "I walked in this forest for 2 days. The speed was not fast, but I took 2 pills to restore my spiritual energy in the middle, and I feel a little hungry now." Everyone was stunned and suddenly confused. Meng Yushan scratched his head and said awkwardly, "It's better not to say it. You are right, I seem to feel very tired these 2 days, but I am also hungry. It seems to be a little bit, and in this forest, the speed of mana consumption is also much faster. I wonder what's going on? It may be necessary to block the miasma. It is understandable to consume more mana, and it is possible to consume more mana if you are always tense." They could only talk to each other, and Zhou Daocheng also listened carefully, as if he had sensed something from it. He couldn't help but mutter to himself, "It consumes more mana." It's easy to get hungry. What's the reason? He was also constantly thinking about the process along the way. What everyone said today was indeed correct. In theory, everyone present was at least at the 9th level of qi refining. Although they had not reached the level of fasting, they also had a lot of mana in their bodies, enough to support a long period of not eating. What's more, in the past 2 days, they were just walking every day, and there was no fighting at all. How could the mana be consumed so quickly? Although he was puzzled, Zhou Daocheng did not find a reasonable explanation. The meeting lasted for more than an hour, and everyone just chatted casually, and did not come up with a reasonable answer at all. In the end, Zhou Daocheng had no choice but to end the meeting and let everyone eat and drink as much as possible to replenish their physical strength. Afterwards, after explaining to his eldest brother Zhou Daocheng directly began to retreat alone. No matter what situation you face, strength is the most important factor. As long as your own strength is strong enough, your safety will naturally increase. Especially recently, the first set of spirit puppet array has been destroyed, and the spotted viper and the black-eyed ghost-scaled snake can no longer be used, which greatly reduced Zhou Daocheng's strength. Although he still has another set of spirit puppet array, for safety reasons, he decided to refine another set. It just so happens that the essence of Blood Fang Wild Boar and Purple Flame Spirit Cat can be used to make a more powerful spirit puppet array. The Blood-Fanged Wild Boar, originally with strength comparable to the 3rd level of foundation building, if it is made into a spirit puppet, its strength should be able to barely reach the 2nd level of foundation building, but the physical strength is relatively weak. After all, the quality of the black puppet wood is relatively low. The strength of the Purple Flame Spirit Cat should be relatively less weakened, because it does not rely on its own strong physique, but relies on agility and demon fire to fight. If 2 cat eyes are refined into the spirit puppet during the refining process, so that the Purple Flame Spirit Cat can still use demon fire, then its strength will not be reduced too much. Zhou Daocheng conservatively estimated that it should be able to barely reach the 3rd level of foundation building. In this way, a blood-toothed wild boar with strength comparable to the 2nd level of foundation building, plus a Purple Flame Spirit Cat that barely reached the 3rd level of foundation building, must be an extremely powerful force. Zhou Daocheng did not hesitate to go into seclusion and began to improve his own strength. But others were far from being so at ease. Even if they lived in the Earth Spirit House, they still felt extremely insecure and kept an eye on the situation outside at all times. The same was true for the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng. He had to send people to guard the night every day and night to avoid any unexpected situations, and at the same time further detect the surrounding environment. It turned out that the surrounding soil was no different, and the surrounding miasma was nothing special. Everything seemed very ordinary, but they just couldn't get out. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 331 Mental Illusion. Seeing that Zhou Daocheng was so arrogant and started practicing in seclusion, Zhou Daocheng could only sigh helplessly and stay here temporarily. A full 10 days passed without any danger. Everyone stayed in the Tulin Lodge peacefully, waiting for Zhou Daocheng to leave seclusion. After 10 days of hard work, Zhou Daocheng finally lived up to expectations and successfully refined a brand new spirit puppet formation. Moreover, it is the most powerful spiritual puppet formation so far. It can almost make Zhou Daocheng directly comparable to the strong men at the third level of Qi, refining with his cultivation of the first level of foundation building. Even the purple flame spirit cat alone is enough for him to fight against the third level of foundation building. Zhou Daocheng's face showed joy. He was now in a dangerous environment. The improvement of his strength might bring new opportunities, and he might find a way out. Looking at the purple flame spirit cat in the formation, Zhou Daocheng suddenly felt an itch in his heart. He tried to control the spirit puppet himself and wanted to experience the strength of the third level of foundation building. The purple flame spirit cat is a very special spirit puppet that can use demonic fire. However, when Zhou Daocheng's consciousness first entered the purple flame civet, he had a vague feeling of strangeness, as if the surrounding environment had a sense of illusion. At first, Zhou Daocheng didn't pay much attention to it, thinking that it was more difficult to control the third-level foundation building spirit puppet and that it consumed a lot of his own energy. However, when Zhou Daocheng controlled the body of the purple flame civet turned around, and after seeing its own body, it stopped suddenly and stared blankly at its own body, faintly aware that something was wrong. After just looking at it for a few seconds, I couldn't help but sweat. After swallowing, I vaguely realized that something was wrong. It turns out it turns out to be like this. No wonder I didn't notice anything unusual. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but murmur to himself, and finally, in order to confirm his suspicion, he directly controlled the body of the spirit puppet, left the retreat room, and came to the Tuling hut. When he looked at the others, he was completely sure of what he was thinking. In the eyes of the purple flame spirit cat, he discovered that his body had always had its eyes closed. Of course, this was not the most important thing, because when the consciousness left the body and controlled the spirit puppet, it was understandable for the body to close its eyes. However, the purple flame civet's cat eyes had certain mental abilities, which allowed him to vaguely realize that his body was not just closing his eyes, but was in a weaker coma. This situation is very special. Even if he is controlling a spirit puppet, it is absolutely impossible for him to be in a semi-conscious state. When he left the retreat room and saw the other people in the Tulin Lodge, his suspicion was completely confirmed. Everyone because he had their eyes closed and they were all in a slight coma. Everyone is not awake at all. Zhou Daocheng only felt that his scalp was numb, goosebumps appeared all over his body, and the hairs on his body stood on end. There was only one question in my mind: when exactly? When did they fall into a semi-coma state? Could it be that they were also in a semi-coma state during the 2 days they walked in the forest? So is everything they perceive and see real? They walked back for 2 days, but did they really go back? Zhou Daocheng kept thinking, and felt more and more fear in his heart. Under this silent influence, they were likely to die completely, and they might even be in a semi-coma for the rest of their lives and never be able to get out. When he discovered the cause of the incident, Zhou Daocheng tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart and began to try to wake himself up. Now it is almost certain that it is not the so-called formation, but a unique environmental influence that affects everyone's spirit. Therefore, the best way is to use mental abilities to solve it. Zhou Daocheng controlled the purple flame cat spirit puppet and began to rummage through his storage bag, trying to find items that could stimulate his spirit. In the end, I only found the black jade soul-nurturing wood and spirit-binding crystal. Although these two heavenly and earthly treasures cannot be completely regarded as spiritual items, they are still somewhat contaminated. In addition, the purple flame civet itself should also have some spiritual attributes. Therefore, after Zhou Daocheng thought for a long time, he placed all the black jade soul-nurturing and soul-binding crystals next to his own body, trying to influence himself. Then, he used the purple flame civet's eyes to release purple flames, wrapping his body. This is an extremely dangerous behavior. The demon fire on the third level of foundation building may directly burn the monks on the first level of foundation building. However, Zhou Daocheng's situation is different, because he has extremely strong defense and is also protected by a higher quality red snake tattoo. So in an instant, the red snake tattoo was activated immediately, and a huge wave covered the whole body, making the main body with closed eyes couldn't help but frown at this moment. It works? Zhou Daocheng was pleasantly surprised and quickly seized this opportunity. Seeing that he had feelings, he immediately returned his spirit to his body and tried his best to sense the changes in his body. When he regained consciousness, he found that he should still be in a coma, because when he opened his eyes, he did not find any flames on his body, he just felt a little hot. This shows that there is a strange spiritual energy that is affecting his perception. Now that the abnormality has been discovered, he will definitely not follow the wrong perception, but will try his best to feel the changes in his body. Finally, at a certain moment, it seemed that countless time had passed, and I saw the light in an instant. When I opened my eyes, I saw the red flame and the purple flame intertwined together, and they all became real. I finally woke up. Zhou Daocheng rubbed his sore and swollen temples, and felt extremely tired, as if he had slept for a long time, but this sleep did not restore his physical strength, but consumed all the energy in his body, as if he was hollowed out. Until this moment, when he felt the extremely real body and the clear sight in his eyes, Zhou Daocheng really understood that he had completely escaped the control of this special mental attack. And it was at this moment that many questions that I couldn't figure out before had answers. At this moment, why did everyone not move, and the surrounding environment was still changing? The greater possibility was not that the surrounding environment changed, but that he had fallen into an illusion at that time and was in a semi-comatose state. So when he looked at the surrounding environment, he thought it had changed. In fact, everything around him had never changed, only people had changed. As for why he couldn't get out, in fact, it is very simple. You are traveling while semi-conscious. Although you are walking back, who can know which direction you are going? Chapter 332 5-Color Miasma. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. They probably walked towards the depths of the 100-insect poison swamp for 2 full days. As for where they are now, no one knows. Fortunately, we stopped in time. If we keep going, who knows where we will end up? Zhou Daocheng was secretly frightened. After suppressing the palpitations in his heart, Zhou Daocheng looked outside the retreat with deep eyes. No matter what happened, the most important thing now is to help everyone recover. Now that you can regain your sanity and break away from this kind of mental control, it is possible to escape from this dangerous area. Zhou Daocheng came to Tuling Lodge. The strange scene made his hair stand on end, because everyone, whether it was his eldest brother Zhou Daobai or the members of the 5 hunting teams, all had their eyes closed and were doing various things in Tuling Lodge. Some people stood guard facing the wall with their eyes closed, seemingly very serious. There are also people eating, but they are not taking anything. There is no food, they are just facing the air. They are all in a state of half asleep and half awake, which is similar to sleepwalking, to be precise. They are in a fantasy. Everything is unreal, but everything in the fantasy is based on reality. For example, the conversations they had on the road were actually real. Everyone talked with their eyes closed, hurried on the road with their eyes closed, and lived in the Tuling Lodge with their eyes closed. Even the illusions they saw each other were the same. However, everything that happens in the fantasy is not real. For example, it seems that you have eaten, but in fact you have not. It seems that the environment is ever changing, but in fact it is not. This is a very magical state, and Zhou Daocheng can only describe it as conscious sleepwalking. Without thinking too much, Zhou Daocheng began to try to wake up others. This is relatively easier, at least easier than waking yourself up, because the spiritual method is a spiritual method, especially for Meng Yushan and others. They are already controlled by the spiritual method, and there is a ray of Zhou Daocheng's spirit in their minds. Zhou Daocheng can directly stimulate them, and they can recover from the coma. Recover. What's more, he was only in a slight coma, half asleep and half awake, so it was relatively easier to wake him up. Zhou Daocheng only slightly stimulated the spirits in their minds. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan frowned, and soon opened their eyes. When their consciousness recovered from their trance and saw the situation in front of them clearly, they immediately looked at their hands in disbelief. "Sir, this is..." Zhou Daocheng didn't say much, motioning for them to rest first, and then started to wake up several others. The first is the eldest brother Zhou Daobai. Zhou Daocheng also used the secret method to condense into a small needle and gently prick Zhou Daobai's spirit. With only a slight external influence, he recovered easily and slowly opened his eyes. Others were in the same situation, and they all recovered after being slightly stimulated. When everyone opened their eyes and looked tiredly at their surroundings, they all vaguely understood something. The eldest brother Zhou Daobai showed a hint of panic when he complained at the end of the year, and said, "Are we falling into an illusion?" Zhou Daocheng slightly. Zhou Daobai said in disbelief, "How is it possible? When did we fall into the illusion? Why haven't we noticed it?" This question is also the biggest doubt for others. After Zhou Daocheng thought for a moment, he speculated, perhaps when we were looking for traces of the spirit snake sect, we had slowly fell into the illusion. When we stayed in place and the environment began to change unconsciously, the illusion was completely established. But I just didn't notice it. It should be true. After all, since then, some strange problems have begun to appear. Zhou Daobai nodded in agreement. The footprints of the spirit snake sect members suddenly disappeared, the illusion suddenly changed, the miasma became thicker. All the changes occurred at that time. Meng Yushan said with lingering fear, "We just closed our eyes and stayed in the poisonous swamp for half a month. It should be 2 days. After leaving for 2 days at first, we stayed in the Tuling Lodge." Lin Yuan explained. Meng Yushan exclaimed, "Fortunately, Master has the foresight, otherwise if we had to walk here for half a month, we might not survive now." The rest of the people also nodded. Running around in this situation was tantamount to courting death. Zhou Daocheng also felt lucky. If it weren't for the purple flame spirit cat, it might be difficult for him to find himself in an illusion in a few months. In fact, it is not very difficult to escape from the illusion. What is really difficult is how to find out that you are in the illusion. The most terrifying illusion is not to fall completely into a deep sleep, but to fall into a completely unbelievable environment. The really scary thing is that you are half asleep, half awake, a fantasy that seems real and fake, based on reality, but slightly different from reality. You can't see any problems, and you even think that everything in the fantasy is reality. Even after waking up, I found that the environment in the fantasy world was actually not much different from the environment in reality. This was the most terrifying thing. However, I finally came out of the illusion, and my safety was guaranteed. After everyone had a brief chat, they walked out of Tuling's hut and looked at the real environment around them. Looking around, there is an extremely dense jungle, and the giant trees that cover the sky completely block the light in the sky, making it look extremely dark. This is no different from the illusion, but the only difference is that the miasma floating in the forest has changed a lot, showing colorful colors, which looks magnificent. Moreover, Zhou Daocheng only smelled it lightly and found that this colorful miasma was very special, and seemed to have some hallucinogenic effects. After checking, Zhou Daobai said, "It seems that this colorful miasma made us fall into a coma. It is really hard to guard against. It should not only be miasma, but there may be other factors, otherwise we would not fall into the illusion without noticing." Zhou Daocheng speculated. Not long after, Zhou Daocheng found a lot of white flocculent flowers growing close to the ground in the surrounding grass, which were constantly releasing white miasma. However, when the miasma enters the air, it will change into colorful colors, which is extremely gorgeous and beautiful. This is a special spiritual plant that he has never seen before, which also makes him extremely curious. But he found that the miasma emitted by this white flocculent flower did not seem to have any hallucinogenic effect. Only when it was floating in the air and turned into colorful miasma, it would have a very weak hallucinogenic effect. Zhou Daocheng discovered the secret after careful observation. In addition to this flocculent flower, there is another special spiritual plant around, a purple vine wrapped around the tree branches. Chapter 333 The Monster in the Fantasy World. This vine releases a special kind of pollen into the air, which is completely non-toxic and harmless. However, when it touches the white flocculent flowers, the two sides will react, thus producing a hallucinogenic effect. This hallucinogenic effect is not very effective, but it is extremely easy to be affected, and it is difficult to recover from the illusion, just like everyone before. Even after everyone stood in the forest for only a few breaths, someone was affected by the colorful miasma and his eyes were about to close. Fortunately, Zhou Daocheng discovered it in time and slapped him to wake him up, which prevented him from falling into the illusion. Faced with such a situation, Zhou Daocheng decisively ordered, everyone use magic power to attach to the nose to avoid breathing the colorful miasma. At the same time, 3 people in a group, if you find that other people have signs of falling into the illusion, immediately wake them up. Everyone did it immediately without any doubt, wrapped the aura around the nose, and blew away the colorful miasma that could get close. In this way, the influence of the colorful miasma was immediately alleviated, allowing everyone to move smoothly. At this time, Zhou Daocheng began to determine his current location and tried to leave here. If possible, he also needed to look for the disappeared spirit snake sect. If there were no accidents, the spirit snake sect would most likely be affected by the 5-color miasma and encounter the same situation as them. However, after observing the surrounding situation, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai discovered a not-so-good situation, that is, the location of everyone should have been completely deep into the 100 insects poison swamp. Zhou Daobai frowned and speculated, we should have walked a long way in the first 2 days, and we might even have used spiritual energy to travel at that time. Now we are very deep. It will take a lot of time to go back. Zhou Daocheng also nodded and said, then explore slowly. Anyway, the 5-color miasma can't affect us, and there are not many other dangers in this area. Just walk back slowly. Everyone can walk safely here for 2 days without encountering any danger, which means that there should be no other dangers in this area except the 5-color miasma. Zhou Daocheng no longer hesitated, and led the team to move forward, and began to look for natural treasures and monsters. The more special the area, the more likely it is to have precious natural treasures. Zhou Daocheng is unwilling to give up such an opportunity. After walking for almost half a day, Zhou Daocheng stopped. In the jungle not far away, there was a huge tiger walking slowly in the jungle. It was powerful and heavy. It had already reached the middle stage of the 2nd level, equivalent to the 4th to 5th level of foundation building. Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai immediately became serious. It was very dangerous to encounter a tiger monster in the jungle, not to mention a monster with the strength of the middle stage of the 2nd level. If it was a tiger monster familiar with the terrain, it would be possible to easily kill several strong men in the middle stage of foundation building with superb hunting skills. With such strength, facing Zhou Daocheng and others in the early stage of foundation building, it was simply a piece of cake. Just as the two were sweating and alert to the tiger, Zhou Daocheng suddenly glanced at the monster's closed eyes. The next moment, Zhou Daocheng immediately showed a look of surprise, and lowered his voice and said, this monster seems to have fallen into an illusion. Zhou Daobai had also discovered the situation, and his eyes lit up, with a look of relief on his face. It seems that this kind of 5-colored miasma is not only useful for cultivators, but also for monsters. After noticing this, Zhou Daocheng's heart was pounding, and a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. If the 5-colored miasma is also effective for monsters, does it mean that there are many monsters trapped in illusions in this 5-colored miasma? Zhou Daocheng swallowed his saliva and said speculatively, this is very likely. Zhou Daocheng vaguely discovered that he seemed to have found a treasure. This land of five-colored miasma is not only a dangerous area, but also seems to be a natural hunting ground. If you can sneak attack these monsters trapped in illusions, you can easily kill them. I want to obtain a large amount of monster materials. Thinking of this, Zhou Daocheng no longer hesitated and said directly, "Brother, this is a good opportunity. Let's join sneak forces to attack this monster. If it has no reaction at all, I should have a certain chance of winning." After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daobai finally gritted his teeth and said, "Okay." A large number of formations were taken out and placed around to restrict the actions of this monster. In addition, the giant Trige bow was also taken out and attacked from the rear, while Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai were restraining it from the front. Zhou Daocheng went all out, without any reservation, and directly arranged two sets of spirit puppet formations, and used the snake bone spirit formation at the same time. This was his most powerful state. Soon, 4 spirit puppets appeared in front of him. One of them was a corrupted poison armor lizard and a frost poison toad. Both were relatively weak, equivalent to the strength of the first level of foundation building. But in the other spirit puppet formation, there were extremely powerful blood-toothed wild boars and purple flame spirit cats, with very good combat power. On the other side, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai was also ready, holding a bone sword in his hand, and the sword intent began to gather. It was at this moment that the demon tiger walking in the bushes seemed to sense a strong breath and suddenly stopped, looked around vigilantly, and finally looked in the direction of Zhou Daobai. Seeing this scene, Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly, but did not give up the plan to surround and kill it. Instead, he lowered his voice and said, "Take action. As long as it is still in the illusion, we will have the advantage." Although the scene in the illusion is based on reality, if reality changes, the illusion will naturally change. That is to say, when Zhou Daocheng and others were besieging, the monsters were also fighting in the illusion, but the scenes seen by both sides were slightly different. But only these slight differences were needed to give Zhou Daocheng and others an advantage. Zhou Daocheng's eyes condensed, and he pinched the magic formula in his hand. The snake bone spirit formation was activated immediately. A large number of thick and sharp snake bones rose from the ground and surrounded the monster tiger to control his actions. The monster tiger noticed the changes around him and began to roar continuously, but his eyes were still closed, and he didn't realize that he was still in the illusion. The 4 spirit puppets have also gradually approached, surrounding the monster tiger from 4 directions, preparing for a sneak attack. On the other side, Zhou Daobai's breath has been condensed to the extreme. After nodding to Zhou Daocheng, he let the true energy flow into the white bone sword. The breath of desire wandered around, with a hint of bursting anger. This is the method of the Yin Sha sword, which can condense anger and integrate it into the sword technique, thereby displaying powerful sword skills. Chapter 334 Golden Bone Tiger. Generally speaking, the greater the anger of the caster, the greater the power of the angry sword, which is a point that all people who practice this sword technique take for granted. However, Zhou Daobai did not do so. If he used his own anger as nourishment, sooner or later, he would be controlled by the increasingly strong anger in the sword technique, and eventually become obsessed, just like the former elder of the Xuanian sect. Zhou Daobai's anger was obtained from the enemy and accumulated in the sword technique, and it would not affect his emotions. Although the power of this method would be relatively weaker, it is obviously safer and easier to master the sword technique, so as not to be controlled by the sword technique. As the sword intent condensed and the breath reached its peak, Zhou Daobai directly stabbed out with a sword, stabbing at the abdomen of the demon tiger at an extremely tricky angle. Because of the extremely fast speed, the demon tiger in the illusion had no time to react at all. The long sword directly cut a huge hole in its tough skin, and blood gushed out. The shrill roar resounded through the sky, shaking the surrounding trees. However, it was still in the illusion at this time, and the changes in the illusion would not completely refer to reality. Even if the demon tiger struggled and resisted quickly, it was still difficult to effectively repel Zhou Daobai. At this moment, Zhou Daobai gently hooked the white bone long sword, and the sword intent on the sword peak quickly collected the anger from the demon tiger in a tricky way, instantly making the sword energy more powerful, with a faint red breath. In this way, not only did Zhou Daocheng's strength become stronger, but it also soothed the demon tiger's emotions to a certain extent and reduced its anger. Take advantage of its illness to kill it. After Zhou Daocheng was injured, Zhou Daocheng naturally did not want to fall behind, and then attacked to surround and kill. The first to attack were the 5 captains of the hunting team. They directly used the golden spear 100-vine formation. Dense and thick vines emerged from the ground and entangled the 4 tiger paws of the demon tiger. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng also controlled the snake bone spirit formation, which grew out from all directions and controlled the demon tiger like a cage. In a breath, the movement of the demon tiger was directly restricted. No matter how fiercely it tore, it would not have much effect, because both the thorny vines and snake bones could continue to grow. Although the strength was not high enough and was easily torn and destroyed, the number of vines was enough to make the demon tiger defenseless. During this short control time, Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng got another chance to attack. Zhou Daocheng still used swordsmanship. The angry sword was used for the second time. The white bones were surrounded by a light red anger, like an arrow passing through the air, leaving a light red flame tail, and pierced into the demon tiger's abdomen again. This time, the purpose was not to cut open, but to directly pierce the abdomen and attack the internal organs. This fatal blow immediately made the demon tiger feel threatened in life, and roared to the sky again, struggling hard. He actually broke free from all the formations with his terrifying strength. No, this beast wants to escape. The demon tiger did not fight back because of anger, but after feeling the threat of life and death, it quickly began to flee to the forest behind. Zhou Daocheng looked indifferent and said, "Don't worry, I'll do it." In the spirit puppet formation, 4 spirit puppets quickly took action and rushed forward without hesitation, especially the blood-toothed wild boar, which was no smaller than the demon tiger. It directly collided from the side and stopped the demon tiger with a strong force. A woo! The painful wail echoed. Zhou Daocheng personally controlled the giant bow without a trace of mercy, and the flaming arrow was aimed at the pain point. One arrow shot into the wound on the abdomen, further expanding the injury. Then, the red snake tattoo on Zhou Daocheng's body surged, and the rose-red flame was hit by a palm and directly poured into the belly of the demon tiger. At the same time, the purple flame spirit cat made a move in tacit understanding, and purple flames appeared in its eyes. It was also stuffed into the belly of the demon tiger like Zhou Daocheng. At this moment, the flaming arrow, the red snake flame, and the purple flame all happened to enter the belly of the demon tiger. The incompatible flames began to entangle and collide inside. The demon tiger, which was originally knocked to the ground, suddenly bounced up from the ground, roaring and wailing, shaking its body, trying to get rid of the flames in its abdomen. However, there was no effect. Zhou Daocheng clearly saw that in the huge wound in the abdomen, there was a faint strong fire, sometimes red, sometimes purple, and the strong energy was constantly colliding in it. After a few breaths last time, a small explosion occurred directly, and the entire wound was charred black. Seeing this scene, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. This seemed a bit too cruel. However, the effect of the collision of the 3 flames were something he had never expected. It could actually produce such terrible energy, even not weaker than some spells. The demon tiger, which was already seriously injured, jumped around for a while, then fell down with a thud, gasping for breath, and black smoke came out of the wound on his abdomen, which was already very weak. Seeing this, the eldest brother Zhou Daocheng was very disappointed and said distressedly, "This is the material of a second-level middle-grade demon beast." The entire abdominal cavity was burned. How many spirit stones must be lost? Zhou Daocheng smiled and said, "There is no other way. After all, it is a demon beast equivalent to the 5th level of foundation building. It is good enough to be killed." Zhou Daocheng sighed and understood the reason. The fact that everyone was able to kill this demon beast was largely due to the 5-colored miasma. This battle was almost like the demon tiger fighting with its eyes closed, and it could not put up any effective resistance. If it was in its prime, I'm afraid everyone would not be its opponent at all. Because the difference in strength was too great. This was a demon beast equivalent to the 5th level of foundation building, and could easily kill a cultivator at the 3rd level of foundation building. But with the help of the 5-colored miasma, it didn't even have a chance to escape. Looking at the dying demon tiger on the ground, which didn't open its eyes until it died, Zhou Daocheng really felt the horror of the 5-colored miasma. As long as you don't realize that you are in an illusion, you will never wake up, and even think that everything in the illusion is real. Perhaps, in the illusion of this demon beast, it also encountered a battle, and in this battle it was completely suppressed, thinking that it had encountered a stronger opponent. But in reality, there was only a group of cultivators who were weaker than it. Zhou Daocheng sighed, walked forward, completely ended the life of the demon tiger, and then began to collect materials. This was the strongest monster they had hunted so far. It was beyond their capabilities and it was impossible to kill it. Moreover, it was a tiger-like monster, with treasures all over its body. Almost all the monster materials were priceless. When Zhou Daocheng got closer to check, he could see the species of this monster. It was a very rare golden bone tiger, a monster known for its strong physique. Chapter 335 A huge profit. This 2nd-level monster is very special. It does not use magic. It is a pure body refining monster and has extremely strong bones. Even if it is not refined by means, its strength can be comparable to that of a 2nd-level magic weapon. The essence of the golden bone tiger is all condensed in its bones. It is an extremely precious monster material and can be said to be priceless. Not only can it be used to refine magic weapons, but it can also be refined into a kind of elixir called Bail Yanjin Gutan, which is of great benefit to body refining cultivators. The bones of this whole golden bone tiger are enough to refine 3-4 furnaces of elixirs, which can be used together with the body refining technique Zhuanyin body refining technique to greatly increase the speed of body refining. Zhou Daocheng collected them all and put them in the storage bag. This precious material must not be exchanged for contribution points, and should be brought back to the Fog Valley treasure house. In addition, the tiger skin and flesh of the bone golden tiger are also extremely precious materials, containing very rich energy. After use, it can strengthen the bones and muscles, and it is also a rare treasure. There is almost no useless part on the whole body, all of which can be eaten or refined. The only pity is that due to the burning of the red snake flame and the purple flame, a large amount of flesh and blood inside the abdominal cavity was burned, and even some organs were burned into charcoal. In desperation, this part of flesh and blood was taken directly, and after a simple grilling, it was distributed to everyone present. Many people in the hunting team were exhausted after hunting these days, and they could just eat the flesh and blood of the 2nd-level monster to replenish energy and restore physical strength and spirit. However, the flesh and blood of the 2nd-level middle-stage gold refining bone tiger contains extremely huge energy, so for most chi refining cultivators, only a small piece can be used. Because Lin Yuan ate one more piece, the spiritual energy was too full, and his face was flushed. He sat cross-legged on the spot and practiced the exercises. It took half an hour to absorb all the energy. But the benefits are also very obvious. The cultivation level that has already reached the late 9th level of chi refining has been improved again, and it is one step closer to foundation building. The rest of the people were in a similar situation. Even if they ate less, they still needed to sit cross-legged and practice to fully absorb it. Only Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai ate a few more pieces because they were stronger. This kind of energy-rich flesh and blood is also very beneficial to them. After eating, Zhou Daocheng remembered to collect the essence of the golden bone tiger. Although it is not possible to use the essence of the 2nd-stage middle-stage monster to refine the spirit puppet formation at present, it can be stored and may be used in the future. However, when he tried to refine the essence, a disappointing situation occurred. The essence of the golden bone tiger was completely dead. It was not completely dissipated. The essence was still in the mind, but it had no consciousness at all, as if it was completely asleep. Zhou Daocheng used many methods to stimulate it, but there was no response at all. This essence has completely lost its activity. As for why this happened, Zhou Daocheng was not very clear. and he could only blame it on the five-colored miasma. After all, what is the difference between the golden bone tiger and other monsters? The biggest difference is that when the golden bone tiger died, it was still in the illusion. Zhou Daocheng also felt a little regretful. Even if a second-level middle-grade spirit essence could not be refined into a spirit puppet formation, it could be sold in the market for a lot of spirit stones. But now is not the time to feel regretful, because Zhou Daocheng found that the colorful miasma area is simply a treasure. Since the golden bone tiger will fall into the illusion and fall into this area, would there be other monsters falling into the illusion? Hunting these monsters that fall into the illusion does not require much effort, and the danger is relatively low, and the efficiency is simply terrifying. According to the strength, Zhou Daocheng and his party can only besiege monsters equivalent to the 4th level of foundation building at most. However, if they hunt monsters that fall into the illusion, they dare to touch even monsters equivalent to the 6th level of foundation building. Even if the hunt fails in the end, they can leave completely, and their own safety is sufficiently guaranteed. After considering these, Zhou Daocheng is no longer in a hurry to leave. Where is the dangerous area here? It's just a huge treasure trove. After cleaning up the body of the golden bone tiger, Zhou Daocheng set out again to continue looking for monsters. Now, he is no longer in a hurry to go out. He just wanders around here. What's more, the 5-color miasma area is not very dangerous, and he can even go deeper. In just a few days, he found several monsters trapped in the illusion again. Most of them are in the early stage of the 2nd stage. With the strength of several people, they can easily kill them. The harvest in these few days is almost richer than the harvest in the previous few months, and the hunting process is easier, and there are almost no injuries. Even the chi refining monks of the hunting team did not suffer any losses, because there are few dangerous poisons in the range of the 5-color miasma. Almost all of them are white flocculent flowers, and the 5-color miasma itself is more dangerous. However, Zhou Daocheng also found a problem in the hunting these days, that is, the spirits of the monsters killed in the illusion will die directly and lose their activity completely. Now it can be confirmed that it is the factor of the 5-color miasma that leads to such a result. This is a relatively large loss, but compared to the gains, this loss is not worth mentioning. A large amount of precious monster materials, whether used by oneself or exchanged for contribution points, can gain huge wealth. Zhou Daocheng also completely gave up the idea of returning, and went deep into the 5-colored miasma, constantly hunting 2nd-level monsters. According to his estimation, the current location has been completely deep into the range of about 1,000 miles of the 100 Insects Poison Swamp, which is considered to have completely entered the East Great Wilderness Vein, which is already a very dangerous area. Logically speaking, there should be a large number of 2nd-level late-stage monsters around, and even the 3rd-level monsters killed by the Wang family and the Tang family are not far away from here. Without the protection of the 5-colored miasma, it would be absolutely impossible for Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng to get close to the vicinity with their strength. Even recently, in the 5-colored miasma, I encountered a 2nd-level late-stage monster that was trapped in an illusion. This powerful monster, equivalent to the late stage of foundation building, even if it has fallen into an illusion, Zhou Daocheng definitely did not dare to take action, quietly bypassed it from behind, and continued to look for other monsters. In the 4th month, Zhou Daocheng had made a lot of money by hunting monsters trapped in illusions. The hunting rhythm has also become much easier. During the day, we search and hunt monsters, and at night, we rest in the Earth Spirit House. The only thing to note is that not everyone can sleep at the same time, because once you relax, you will inhale the 5-colored miasma. Even if you can't prevent it with the formation, there will still be a very small amount of 5-colored miasma that penetrates in, and it is easy to fall into an illusion, and the person who falls into the illusion will not notice it at all. Chapter 336, Secret Lake. Therefore, it is actually very difficult to survive in this area. Almost as long as you fall into the illusion, there is a 99% chance that you will stay here forever, and you will not even have the chance to discover the rules here, let alone survive here. So these days, Zhou Daocheng only sleeps once a week, and every time he sleeps, he will let his elder brother Zhou Daocheng personally guard him by his side, using spiritual energy to protect his whole body to ensure that Zhou Daocheng will not be affected by the five-colored miasma, who made him the only one among all people who has spiritual means. Others can fall into illusions, but Zhou Daocheng can't. In this way, everyone survived in this strange area with such a troublesome way, constantly hunting wild beasts, and faintly became the existence at the top of the food chain in this area. As night fell, the whole forest became dim. Zhou Daocheng sat cross-legged in his room, and did not choose to sleep, but practiced silently. He reached the foundation building stage, and it would not hurt his body to not sleep for 10 days or half a month. While slowly practicing the technique to restore the spiritual energy consumed in the body, he secretly thought and counted the gains of the past few days in his heart. However, when the time came to midnight, Zhou Daocheng suddenly frowned. The pale yellow spiritual energy around him fluctuated slightly, and his calm eyes opened and looked in the direction outside the Earth Spirit House. He suddenly discovered a strange phenomenon. It seems that just now, I absorbed a wisp of pure spiritual energy. Zhou Daocheng whispered in surprise. In this area now, it is very difficult to absorb a wisp of pure and rich spiritual energy. The so-called pure and rich spiritual energy here does not refer to the spiritual energy floating in the air, but the spiritual energy near the spiritual vein. In nature, there is not rich spiritual energy floating, but it is generally more chaotic and can never compare to the spiritual energy in the spiritual vein. Before walking in the colorful miasma for several months, almost everyone used pills to restore spiritual energy, or relied on the spirit gathering array to slowly absorb the free spiritual energy in the air. But just now, Zhou Daocheng clearly noticed that he seemed to have absorbed a very pure spiritual energy, and the quality was not low. Could it be? There is a spiritual vein around here? Zhou Daocheng lowered his eyes and thought. In order to verify his guess, he continued to sit cross-legged and began to try to spread his own true energy. After about a quarter of an hour, Zhou Daocheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Another ray. When he absorbed the second ray of pure spiritual energy, Zhou Daocheng had confirmed his guess that there must be an item around that can release pure spiritual energy. As for what the item is, Zhou Daocheng pondered in his heart and thought of several possibilities. First, there may be a spiritual vein or a spiritual spring around, which is the most likely. Second, it may also be a spiritual object of heaven and earth similar to purple qi green spirit bamboo and wuling grass that can release spiritual energy. No matter which one it is an extremely precious treasure, which made Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but get excited. However, he did not go out to look for it at the first time, but got up and left the room and knocked on the door of his eldest brother Zhou Daocheng. There is no need to worry about disturbing the other party's practice, because now in the colorful miasma, everyone is resting with their eyes closed. After a cup of tea, Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng sat facing each other. Is there pure spiritual energy around? Zhou Daocheng asked with some doubts, but also tried to release his own true energy, as if to confirm Zhou Daocheng's statement. But after a quarter of an hour, Zhou Daocheng slowly opened his eyes and shook his head. I didn't sense it. But it is also possible that your true energy covers a wider area and absorbs spiritual energy from farther away. How about we go and see the situation? After thinking for a while, Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, it is necessary to go and see. Maybe there is a situation. Dare not be careless. If it is really a spiritual vein, or a spiritual object of heaven and earth that can release spiritual energy, the value it brings must be far beyond imagination. Such items are completely worth everyone's risky search. Even before everyone waited until dawn the next day, Zhou Daocheng chose to set off directly, woke up everyone, and walked towards the depths of the 100 insect poison swamp in the dark. But this walk took a whole night, until dawn, when a few rays of sunlight began to penetrate the gaps between the dense treetops above. The source of the spiritual energy was still not found. But at noon, Zhou Daocheng caught a few wisps of pure spiritual energy again, and became more certain of his guess. At the same time, Zhou Daocheng also unexpectedly sensed a wisp of pure spiritual energy. Although there was only one wisp, it immediately shocked his eyes and showed a look of surprise. After the two looked at each other, They continued to search in one direction. The deeper they went, the more pure spiritual energy they sensed. The two were almost certain that there must be something releasing spiritual energy here, and it was most likely a spiritual vein. Generally speaking, spiritual objects such as purple chi and green spirit bamboo release less spiritual energy, and it is impossible to transmit such a long distance. Only spiritual veins have such rich spiritual energy. At noon the next day, Zhou Daocheng stopped and looked at the spiritual energy that was gradually becoming richer in front of him, with a touch of joy in his eyes. It's right in front of us, such a rich spiritual energy. After walking a few dozen steps forward and pushing aside a forest behind us, a deep lake appeared before our eyes. The lake was clear and rippling, surrounded by dense jungle, reflecting the green water surface. Because of the surrounding environment, this place seemed particularly quiet. There was a faint mist hanging over the lake, and there was no sound around it. This is a lake hidden deep in an unknown place. But this is normal. The location where everyone is now has truly reached the depths of the 100 insect poison swamp. Indeed, few monks have entered here. It is an area where no monk has ever been. What's even more surprising is that everyone can feel the extremely rich spiritual energy lingering on the lake. Through the layers of clouds, you can see a large island in the center of the lake. The spiritual energy is transmitted from the island. Zhou Daocheng said happily. It is really a spiritual vein, and it looks like the quality is definitely not low. It seems ... At least it has reached the second level of top grade. The eldest brother Zhou Daocheng couldn't hide the joy on his face and said with a slight shock. The rest of the hunting team were breathing a little heavier at this moment. Such rich spiritual energy is even higher than the quality of the spiritual energy in Wugu, which is enough to show the value of this spiritual vein. Suddenly, Meng Yushan said in surprise, "Hey, look around this lake. There seems to be no colorful miasma." After being reminded like this, everyone immediately reacted. When they approached the lake, all the colorful miasma disappeared. Perhaps it cannot be said that it disappeared, but was blocked by spiritual energy and surrounded by the lake. Chapter 337 Spiritual Vein! But in the lake and on the islands in the center of the lake, there was only extremely rich spiritual energy and mist, and no colorful miasma could be seen at all. Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. It is definitely a precious paradise. Not only does it have a very high-quality spiritual vein, but more importantly, the location here is extremely safe. First of all, this place is deep into the 100 insect poison swamp. Even after the establishment of Donglinfang City, there should be very few forces entering such a deep area. After all, there are a large number of monsters around and the environment is extremely dangerous. Secondly, this meridian is surrounded by colorful miasma, which is a natural barrier that isolates all monsters and monks from outside, making this spiritual vein more secretive and difficult to be discovered by others. When Zhou Daocheng looked at the lake in front of him, only one thought came to his mind: a secret residence. This spiritual vein can be used as the Zhou family's deeply hidden residence, laying the foundation for the family to be passed down for hundreds of years. Since Danchai Mountain was destroyed, the Zhou family has not found a new ancestral land. Deep Forest Mountain doesn't work, and Balin Lake doesn't work either. Even the Foggy Valley Mountains are not suitable as the family's ancestral land because of the establishment of the market. Without a stable ancestral land, the Zhou family will never be able to take root and sprout, and will never be able to return to its previous size. They can only drift in this world of immortality like rootless duckweeds. But the spiritual vein in front of him can completely serve as the foundation of the Zhou family and provide nutrients for the family to grow and develop again. Moreover, now from the shore, the size of this island is really quite large, far from being comparable to the few small islands in Balin Lake. It is roughly estimated that the size of this island in the middle of the lake is probably equivalent to half of Balin Lake, which can fully support the survival of a large number of tribesmen. Conservative estimates suggest that housing tens of thousands of people is definitely not a problem. Zhou Daocheng suppressed the excitement in his heart, poured a basin of cold water on it and said, "Don't rush to celebrate yet. We have to explore the situation inside the island. If there is danger inside, I'm afraid." Hearing this, The others were also stunned. This worry was not unreasonable. In fact, such high-quality spiritual veins may have been occupied by other monsters. Or, if there is such a danger as the colorful miasma, it will be difficult to serve as a base. Everyone suppressed the joy on their faces and decided to check first and see the situation clearly before talking. Zhou Daocheng began to make arrangements, cut down the surrounding thick trees, made them into simple rafts, and began to try to cross the lake. There are now 35 members of the hunting team left, and there is exactly one raft for every 5 people, rowing forward end to end. As for Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daobai, they took the Kingfing shuttle directly and followed behind everyone to protect them in case of unexpected situations. In order to ensure safety, everyone slowed down as much as possible and cautiously approached the island in the center. The closer the distance, the richer the spiritual energy and the thicker the surrounding fog. Everything is shrouded in white mist, and only the clear sound of paddling is left around. Such a quiet environment should be extremely enjoyable, but no one is in the mood to appreciate it. Instead, they are always vigilant about the surrounding environment, for fear of any unexpected situation. Especially in the lake, Zhou Daocheng was always paying attention to the possibility that there might be powerful aquatic monsters here. In the event of a sudden attack, it would be difficult for the members of the hunting team to survive. But fortunately, the lake here has been very calm, and no accidents occurred until everyone approached the island. When everyone successfully landed on the island and looked at this new environment, they felt like they were in another world. It wasn't until this moment that I was completely sure that this should be a third-level spiritual vessel. The quality is higher than imagined, and the value is more than dozens of times higher than the second-order high-grade spiritual veins. Even to the Wang family of Cayenne Mountain, the Tang family of Tan Puppet, and even the King Shan sect, third-level spiritual veins are of extremely high value, let alone a small Zhou family? Zhou Daocheng looked around, taking stock of the surrounding environment, and found that except for the heavy humidity, there were almost no shortcomings here. The terrain is flat and the soil is fertile. It does not require any artificial watering and can be grown as a spiritual field. Moreover, there seem to be many precious elixirs growing inside the island. Just walking into the forest on the island, Zhou Daocheng saw several red ganoderma clustered together, growing very gratifyingly. At present, the quality of these red ganoderma flowers has just reached the second level, and can be used to refine second-level healing elixirs, which are valuable. After walking a few steps, I found another jade dew flower among the dead leaves. It is also an extremely precious second-level elixir. The flower blooms as crystal clear as dewdrops and emits a light fragrance. Smelling it can purify the mind and restore health. Mood. Generally speaking, after the Gyokuro flower is fully bloomed, it can be picked, processed in ancient ways, and finally ground into powder to make an extremely precious sandalwood called Gyokuro sandalwood. If you burn this kind of jade dew sandalwood during practice, it can soothe the mind, calm the soul, and maintain a peaceful state of mind. It can quickly enter the state of practice and make it less likely to become possessed. These elixirs are extremely precious in the world of immortality. They only exist in some little-known remote mountain wildernesses. I didn't expect them to be found on this island. It's really surprising. Zhou Daocheng saw that the jade dew flower was mature, so he picked it directly. As for the red ganoderma, the age was not yet fully reached, so he continued to grow it in the same place. Continuing to go deeper into the island, Zhou Daocheng saw a lot of spiritual medicines one after another. Because of the rich spiritual energy, most of them were second-level spiritual medicines. This time, Zhou Daocheng did not pick them at random, but let them grow. After all, Zhou Daocheng is not a spiritual plant master, and he does not understand spiritual medicines. Maybe some spiritual medicines can reproduce. Picking and destroying them at will may cause huge losses. Later, spiritual plant masters should be arranged to come and check and arrange the picking and transplanting of these spiritual medicines reasonably. The most important task now is to explore whether there is any danger on this island, but from the current point of view, the environment here is very safe, and even monsters do not exist. But for safety reasons, Zhou Daocheng still plans to take a walk around, at least to ensure that he understands the situation of the entire island. The area of the island is not small, it is larger than expected, and it should be equivalent to most of the Balin Lake. The place where everyone landed on the island, that is, the west side of the island, is a large area of dense forests, where many precious second-level spiritual medicines grow. But as we continued to go deeper, the terrain in the middle began to rise gradually, forming a small hill with a height of less than 100 meters. Behind this hill was the core area of the island, which was also the place with the richest spiritual energy. The quality had truly reached the 3rd grade lower grade, and was even close to the 3rd grade middle grade. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 338, Refreshing Tea Tree. The area where the spiritual vein is located is also a not-so-high mountain, stretching from north to south and stretching for several kilometers. It is much larger than any spiritual vein Zhou Daocheng has ever seen. Walking next to the spiritual veins, the surrounding vegetation is dense, with many lush spiritual plants growing. The environment is also extremely quiet, and the spiritual energy lingers in the air like mist. Suddenly, Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly and said, "Brother, do you think it is possible that it is not a spiritual vein, but a spiritual stone vein?" Zhou Daocheng was stunned for a moment, with a thoughtful look in his eyes, and said uncertainly, "It is indeed possible. If you reach the 3rd level of quality spiritual veins, you may have already condensed the spiritual stone veins." Spiritual veins and spiritual stone veins are two completely different concepts. The value of the spirit stone veins far exceeds that of the spirit veins, and the value has increased several times. A spiritual vein is just an earth vein that can continuously produce spiritual energy. However, if the spiritual energy is absorbed too much too quickly, it is likely to cause the spiritual vein to dry up. Therefore, many small families do not allow monks to practice near spiritual veins, in order to prevent the absorption of too much spiritual energy from causing the quality of the spiritual veins to decline nor directly fail. But the spiritual stone veins are completely different. In the extremely rich spiritual veins, a large amount of spiritual energy condenses together and infects the surrounding stones, thus forming spiritual ores, which are spiritual stones. Therefore, in the spirit stone veins, a large number of spirit stones can be mined, which are of extremely high value and are equivalent to huge treasures in themselves. Moreover, generally speaking, spiritual veins must reach the 3rd level or above before spiritual stone veins can appear. So there is almost no chance of exhaustion due to the absorption of spiritual energy. As long as the spiritual stones are not overexploited, the spiritual energy will hardly decline, and there will be very strong spiritual energy condensed around the spiritual stone veins. For example, the air around the entire island and even the entire lake contains very rich spiritual energy. Zhou Daocheng thought about it and came to the area with the strongest spiritual veins. He took out a 1st level high-grade magic weapon and began to chop the stones on the ground. The outer stones were easily chopped off, but they were all ordinary stones, nothing special. After chopping for a quarter of an hour, the exposed rocks were still ordinary stones without any aura, which made Zhou Daocheng a little disappointed. But not long after, there was a sudden ding sound. Zhou Daocheng's movements in his hands paused, his eyes moved, and then he looked sharply. A translucent ore appeared in the gray-brown rock, shining with a warm pale white light, and a rich spiritual energy came out of it. "This is a spiritual stone?" Zhou Daocheng was immediately overjoyed. He increased the strength in his hands and quickly dug into the surrounding rocks, digging out an irregular spiritual stone the size of his head. This is a pure natural low-grade spiritual stone, which is also mixed with a lot of suppression. It needs to be refined and cut in the later stage, and it will also become a spiritual stone used by monks. The large and small spiritual stone mine I have now will probably be able to refine 20 to 30 low-grade spiritual stones in the end. Not only was Zhou Daocheng excited, but Zhou Daobai and all the members of the hunting team were also overjoyed to see this scene. This is like picking up a huge treasure for nothing, as long as they are not mined or destroyed at will. This spiritual vein alone is enough to make the entire Zhou family is rich for more than 100 years. After confirming that this was a spirit stone vein, Zhou Daocheng had completely made up his mind to make this the new ancestral land of the Zhou family. As for other areas on the island, Zhou Daocheng had no intention of exploring in depth. He simply sent members of the hunting team to wander around other parts of the island to confirm that there was no danger. However, what Zhou Daocheng didn't expect was that on this island, besides this vein of spirit stone, there was actually another extremely precious item. Half an hour later, to the east of the Lingxi vein, Zhou Daocheng looked at the tea tree in front of him, with some doubts in his eyes, and asked with some uncertainty, "What kind of tea tree is this?" The quality actually reaches the second level top grade. The eldest brother Zhou Daobai shook his head helplessly and said, "You should learn more about elixirs. You don't even know this precious elixir." Zhou Daocheng twitched the corners of his mouth, raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't be too pretentious. Just tell me what this is." Awakening tea tree. Zhou Daobai gently stroked the leaves of the tea tree and said a name. Can't hide the excitement in his eyes. When Zhou Daocheng heard the name, he frowned and murmured. Then his eyes suddenly lit up and he repeated, "Xingshan tea tree." "Is this the Xingshan tea tree?" Zhou Daobai nodded slightly and said, 3 feet tall, with lush branches and leaves. The leaves are tiny and bright green, with faint gold-scattered patterns. A faint scent of green sandalwood. They themselves have the function of dispelling miasma. The stems, roots, and trunks, branches, leaves, and flowers can all be used as medicine. Zhou Daocheng compared the characteristics of the Xingshan tea tree based on the memory in his mind. The more he observed, the faster his heart beat. It seems ... it's really the awakening tea tree. Zhou Daocheng was quite unbelievable. The awakening tea tree is a second-level spiritual plant, but its own value is even more than some third-level elixirs. Perhaps, only the spiritual life tree obtained previously can be compared with the value of this precious spiritual plant. The most precious thing about the awakening tea tree is its tea leaves. After brewing and drinking, it can enhance spiritual power, allowing monks to have strong spiritual consciousness during the foundation building stage. One of the most difficult thresholds to break through the Z mansion is to improve your own spirituality consciousness. However, among the second-level natural treasures, there are very few items that can enhance spiritual power, so cultivators can only slowly enhance their spiritual consciousness through years of training and accumulation, which is an extremely slow process. There are many 9th-level foundation building cultivators who are not qualified to break through the Purple Mansion until their lifespans are exhausted because of the slow accumulation of spiritual consciousness. If a force has a refreshing tea tree, it means that the probability of breaking through the Purple Mansion has increased by 10% to 20%. Cultivators who often take refreshing tea can also quickly enhance their spiritual power, have stronger spiritual consciousness, have more acute observation, or use spiritual spells and have stronger combat power. Either point is enough to illustrate the preciousness of this tea tree. However, in front of them, there is a refreshing tea tree, and it seems to be mature and can be picked directly. Zhou Daocheng picked a piece directly and put it in his mouth. The slightly bitter taste spread, making him frown, but not long after, a sense of coolness spread throughout the body, and then poured into the mind, and the thinking instantly became much clearer. Even some of the problems that were not understood in the techniques, or the problems encountered in the formation techniques, had solutions. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but secretly said, "Good stuff." Chapter 339, Disclose Your Identity. Spiritual plants of this level are the treasures that can truly increase the foundation and raise the upper limit of the entire Zhou family. The Zhou family now owns a lot of things like this that can be used as family heritage. Zhou Daocheng counted them silently and found that the 4 types of purple air bamboo, mist grass, lingzu tree, and Xingshan tea tree all have unique characteristics. Ordinary value. The first 2 are mainly used to provide spiritual energy and create an environment rich in spiritual energy. They are also a very important part of the foundation. The value of the latter 2 is even more extraordinary. The lingzu tree can increase lifespan, and the awakening tea tree can increase the possibility of breaking through the Zifu. No matter which one it is, if placed in any foundation-building family, it is enough to give their family unlimited prospects. Zhou Daocheng said solemnly, "Sixth brother, go back and make preparations to let the people of Balan Lake move here. With this place as the foundation, why worry about my Zhou family not prospering?" Zhou Daocheng did not refuse, and nodded, "I will make arrangements when I go back. This is really the most suitable place to stay." Although he was excited, Zhou Daocheng still showed the palace of the leader of the force, calmed down his emotions, and started making arrangements in an orderly manner. First of all, it is to learn about the situation of the entire island from the hunting team. In any case, the safety here needs to be confirmed. But judging from the information obtained, the situation is not bad. The entire middle of the island is surrounded by hills that are not too high. In the center are the spirit stone veins and the awakening tea trees, which are the most precious areas on the entire island. To the west of the island is a dense forest in which many elixirs grow. It is suitable to be used as a breeding base for special elixirs and should bring a lot of profits. To the east of the island, the area is larger, the terrain is flat, and the soil is fertile. There are many weeds growing there now, and it will be suitable for cultivating spiritual fields in the future. As for the south and north, the environment is not as good as the east and west sides. Relatively speaking, the terrain is relatively steep, with many uneven cliffs and mountains. However, with a little modification, it should be able to be used later. As for whether there is danger on the island, at present, it seems that there is not one, and not even a monster beast has been seen. After all, this place is surrounded by colorful miasma, and few monsters can enter here. Monsters that have the ability to enter here, such as some powerful third-level monsters, don't seem to have discovered this place. After understanding the situation clearly, Zhou Daocheng felt completely at ease. Gathering all the members of the hunting team, Zhou Daocheng arranged for them to go to the plain area to the east, find a flat area, and start setting up the tooling hut. Looking at the current situation, Zhou Daocheng plans to let the 5 hunting teams stay here directly. Even from now on, these people will stay here directly without returning to Wuyifang City. On the one hand, it is because this new station really needs a group of trustworthy people to guard it, and the members of the hunting team around them are all the most trustworthy subordinates. Moreover, those who can come with him this time are all monks who have used the spiritual mystical method and are completely trustworthy in terms of loyalty. On the other hand, it also gradually transformed Wuyifang City's combat power into private combat power, and truly became a member of the Zhou family. Looking at the 35 people in front of him, Zhou Daocheng hesitated for a moment, considering that this place would become the residence of the Zhou family, and these people would stay here in the future. So it was necessary to reveal some information to them. After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng said, "The people standing here are all my most trusted people. Many of them have been in Wuyifang City for more than 3 years. So, have you ever had any doubts about my identity?" Everyone present was stunned, as if they didn't understand why Zhou Daocheng said these words. There were also some people with a trace of confusion on their faces, who seemed to be confused about Zhou Daocheng's identity. This mysterious Lord of the Mists always wears a bronze mask. As for his identity, no one knows at all. Zhou Daocheng did not show off and directly took off the bronze mask on his face. When the young face was revealed to everyone, many people had a look of surprise on their faces. Many people did not expect that the Lord of Wuyifang, who established Wuyifang City, was actually such a young man. It was very different from the image they had expected of the Lord of Foggy Valley. At the same time, some people couldn't help but let out a sigh, and glanced back and forth on the faces of Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng, with strange expressions on their faces. Aware of these gazes, Zhou Daocheng smiled and said to everyone, "I will tell you frankly today that my name is Zhou Daocheng. Of course, you can continue to call me the Lord of Fog Valley." Zhou Daocheng, hey. Such a familiar name. Indeed, I seem to have heard it somewhere. By the way, do you know what Senior Zhu's name is? It seems to be called Zhu Dao. What the hell? The eldest brother Zhu Daocheng smiled, took a step forward, and said loudly, "My name is Zhou Daocheng." As the voice fell, the scene immediately fell silent. Many people only knew that it was the Zhou family's foundation building expert, but did not know his specific name. However, when Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng reported their names at the same time, even a fool discovered the relationship. In particular, Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, Huang Hegang, Liu Chengzhu and other 9th-level qi refining captains murmured to themselves thoughtfully, "Zhou Daocheng, Zhou Daocheng, you guys." After thinking about these two names carefully, many people showed expressions of sudden realization and looked at the two people in front of them in surprise. Lin Yuan even exclaimed, "FCK, are you brothers?" Meng Yushan also looked strange, looking at Zhou Daocheng and Zhou Daocheng curiously, and indeed saw some similarities in their faces. "Sir, you guys are really brothers, so what about your identity?" Although many people already have the answer in their minds, they still dare not speculate. They all look at Zhou Daocheng, waiting for the answer. Zhou Daocheng did not show off, and said directly, "To tell you the truth, I am a member of the Zhou family. I am the 6th in the Tao family. As fellow Taoist Zhou, I am my eldest brother." When they actually heard the answer, many people were still extremely shocked and felt quite unreal. Unexpectedly, the mysterious Lord of Wugu is actually a Taoist junior of the Zhou family. Once this news comes out, many people will be shocked. Zhou Daocheng just looked at everyone with a smile and let them talk and talk. After gradually calming down, he said, "You are nominally members of Wugu, but in fact you are my people, which is equivalent to being members of the Zhou family." Everyone was stunned. This identity change seemed a bit fast. Suddenly, from a member of the hunting team in Foggy Valley, he directly became a soldier of the Zhou family. Chapter 340 True Surrender. They also looked at each other, and for a moment they could not accept the change of identity. Zhou Daocheng naturally knew that the identity of the hunting team in Wugu Market and the identity of the Zhou family power seemed to be not much different, but in fact there was a big difference. Becoming a member of the family power would obviously have greater restrictions, which would make many members of the hunting team uncomfortable. Zhou Daocheng naturally understood this and took the initiative to say, "Everyone, don't think too much. Whether it is your status and treatment, or what you have to do, it is not much different from before. You are still hunting as a hunting team. It's just that you will stay on this island most of the time in the future, and use this place as your main base." Zhou Daocheng's idea is actually very simple, that is, to separate his own power in Wugu Market from the market itself as much as possible. Although nominally, Wugu Market is controlled by him, the Lord of Wugu, after all, it is a market, and there are a lot of other forces inside the market. For example, Zidane Pavilion, Wang family, Zun Pavilion Qin family, Lingsh sect, etc. They have all taken root in the market and occupied a large share in the market. In the eyes of many people, the power of the hunting team and the guard team does not belong to a certain person, but to the entire Wugu Market. Whoever controls the Wugu Market is equivalent to controlling the hunting team and the guard team. Even many members of the hunting team and the guard team think so, and regard themselves as the managers of the Wugu Market. However, Zhou Daocheng wants to break this concept. The hunting team and the guard team have never been bound to the Wugu Market, but to him, Zhou Daocheng. This concept does not need to be told to other forces in the market for the time being, but it must be rooted in the consciousness of the hunting team and the hunting team. He does not want to work hard for decades, and the power accumulated in the end will be used as a wedding dress for others out of thin air. Therefore, the safest way is to transform the hunting team of Wu Yifang City into Zhou Daocheng's men of the Zhou family. Perhaps the process will be more difficult, but in the long run, it is very necessary to do so. Among the 35 people present, some of them looked calm, just a little surprised, and had no other emotions, such as Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan, who were originally Zhou Daocheng's people and had a very clear understanding of themselves. But some people frowned slightly, thinking about something, and seemed unable to accept the change of their identity for a while. Zhou Daocheng did not force it, but said, "Of course, I don't ask everyone to stay. If you want to return to Wu Yifang City, I can take you back." I hope you can think clearly about what choice to make. At this point, there was already a hint of warning. Different choices will naturally have different results. Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan were very tactful. Seeing that the situation was gradually deadlocked, they took the initiative to speak and planned to set an example. Generally speaking, as long as one person makes a choice, it will naturally lead others. But this time, Zhou Daocheng stopped the two with his eyes. Because this time it's not a joke. We don't need people who are hypocritical, but people who are willing to join the Zhou family and become his personal subordinates. Therefore, he gave everyone enough time to think, hoping that everyone would make their own choices with a sincere attitude. After a cup of tea, Huang Hegang thought for a long time and suddenly said, "Senior Zhou, I agree to this matter. I can break through to the 9th level of qi refining, and I have to thank you for your medicinal bath, and now I am under the control of the spiritual secret method. In fact, I am already your private soldier. Now I just changed my identity and changed to such a place." Zhou Daocheng took a deep look at this person and nodded with satisfaction. This person seems rough and unintelligent, but in fact he is simple-minded and pure. Since joining Zhou Daocheng, he has been working diligently. Isn't this great wisdom? Zhou Daocheng pondered for a moment and said seriously, "Okay, I can promise you that you will never lose because of today's choice." Zhou Daocheng has made a decision in his heart. As long as the conditions are sufficient and if this person is talented enough, he will fully support this person to improve his strength. The future identity will most likely be the same as Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, Qin Lai, Wei Hanshan and others. And what he said instantly awakened the other members of the hunting team who were thinking. One person's eyes lit up, scratched his head helplessly, and said, "Senior Zhou, after being reminded by Captain Huang, I found that I don't have the room for him to choose. I am controlled by Captain Huang's spiritual secrets. Except for following him, I have no other place to go." The voice with a slight accent echoed in the team, and everyone was stunned. Yes, even if you think more, it's useless. Almost all the people in the hunting team and the guard team have actually accepted the spiritual secrets. Zhou Daocheng directly controls Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, Qin Lai, Wei Hanshan and others. Meng Yushan directly controls several captains of the hunting team, and Wei Hanshan controls several captains of the guard team. These captains use the secret method of spirit to control the members under them. There is no other way to do this. Zhou Daocheng cannot pass on the precious skills to the casual cultivators who have no guarantee at all. That's why he had to do this. Besides, after accepting the secret method of spirit, they did get a lot of benefits. Thinking about it carefully, whether it is a hunting team in Wuyifang City or joining the Zhou family and becoming Zhou Daocheng's personal subordinate, it seems that there is not much difference. Many people understood this and agreed to it without hesitation. Zhou Daocheng was also happy with this. This was equivalent to transforming the power accumulated in Wugu into the power of the Zhou family, which was more private. This group of people could hide here and develop this new station. With the help of the better environment here, Zhou Daocheng could secretly cultivate them. After arranging the Earth Spirit House, Zhou Daocheng began to arrange for everyone. Strictly speaking, for the 5 captains. The 5 captains were Meng Yushan, Lin Yuan, Liu Chengzhu, Huang Hegang, and Han Lei. They were all cultivators of the 9th level of qi refining, and their loyalty was guaranteed. The 5 people used to be casual cultivators, and they all made a living by hunting monsters. What they were best at was actually leading the hunting team to hunt. However, the geographical location of this island is quite special now, and it is surrounded by colorful miasma. Zhou Daocheng must not be at ease with them going out to hunt monsters. So, it is better to arrange them to take care of the island. But after thinking for a long time, I found that many jobs are not suitable for them. For example, the forest to the west grows a lot of precious spiritual medicines. Zhou Daocheng couldn't send them to look after the spiritual medicines because they didn't understand them at all. It would be good if they didn't waste them. This kind of thing must be handed over to the second sister Zhou Dai or Huanyang. They are both spiritual plant masters, and their level is not low. Chapter 341 Discovering the Spirit Snake Sect. There are also the spirit stone veins and the awakening tea tree in the center of the island. They are certainly not suitable for them to touch at will. At most, they should be guarded by Meng Yushan and Lin Yuan. These are the most precious things. Although the island is full of people, it is still necessary to take precautions. After all, once damaged, the cost will be too high. From this point of view, Zhou Daocheng had no choice but to arrange for them to clean up the weeds in the East Plain and then dig up the soil to cultivate the spiritual fields. No matter the development of any force, it is inseparable from the cultivation of spiritual fields, especially the cultivation of spiritual rice and some commonly used elixirs. Not only for the forces, but also for the members of the hunting team, they also need a small piece of their own spiritual field to plant and maintain daily life consumption. In addition, Zhou Daocheng also arranged for Lin Yuan to explore the situation in the surrounding lakes. There are mainly two aspects: whether there are dangerous aquatic monsters and whether there are valuable fish. After making arrangements, Zhou Daocheng estimated the time. It had been nearly half a year since he started cleaning up the monsters, and it was time to go back. On the one hand, it is necessary to understand the external situation, such as the movements of the Wang family of Cayenne Shan, the Tang family of Tanpu, and the King Shan sect. Or the progress of cleaning up the 100 insect poison swamp and establishing Donglin Fang City. On the other hand, it was impossible to completely hide the discovery of spiritual veins from the Cayenne Shan Wang family. Zhou Daocheng didn't think that he could unknowingly occupy a spiritual vein under the eyes of the Zifu forces without being discovered. It would be fine if this kind of thing never gets discovered. But one day when the incident comes to light, the forces of the Z Mansion will never let it go. What's more, before the 100 insect poison marsh was cleaned up, the head of the Wang family had promised him that he could choose a spiritual vein from the 100 insect poison marsh and completely settle in the 100 insect poison marsh. Therefore, there is no need for Zhou Daocheng to take this risk. Now, if I discover a spiritual vein and choose to occupy it, the head of the Wang family will most likely not refuse. With this thought in mind, Zhou Daocheng and his eldest brother Zhou Daobai left and began to return to the outskirts of 100 Insects Poison Marsh. They were still traveling through the colorful miasma, and the two of them were already familiar with the journey. They could also take advantage of the opportunity of returning to continue hunting monsters and expand their harvest. So far, a total of 12 second-level monsters have been hunted, and the most powerful Golden Bone Tiger is comparable to the 5th level of foundation building. The rest are at the early stage of the 2nd level, such as Bloodtusk Wild Boar, Purple Flame Civet, etc. Overall, the harvest is quite fruitful. In the colorful miasma, Zhou Daocheng was surrounded by Yutagiuan. He allowed a colorful centipede to attack. His body remained slightly motionless, and then he attached a red snake flame to his hand and slapped it into his head with a palm. Zhou Daocheng chuckled and said lightly, "The second-order low-grade colorful spotted centipede is pretty good. 6th brother, your strength is getting stronger and stronger. Second-level monsters can't even break your defense. I'm afraid that after a while, eldest brother will no longer be your opponent." Zhou Daobai was also quite impressed. Zhou Daocheng waved his hand and said, "Brother, you don't have to be modest. The Yinsha sword's own magic can kill even mid-level second-level monsters. This is not something ordinary second-level foundation building monks can do." Zhou Daobai also smiled lightly and did not refute. The two of them are extremely powerful. They have both practiced techniques and spells of the 3rd level or above. Their strength is far beyond that of monks of the same level. Only monks from big families who also practice high-quality techniques and spells can be on par with them. This represents not only temporary strength, but also potential, with a greater possibility of breaking through to higher realms. Bang! The two were chatting casually, and suddenly a dull voice came from not far away. Zhou Daocheng was packing up the monster materials when his eyes narrowed and he looked towards the direction where the sound came from. On the side, Zhou Daobai also suddenly stopped talking, frowned slightly, looked in the same direction, and said softly, "Is this the sound of monks fighting?" Zhou Daocheng moved faster in his hands and quickly packed away the monster materials. After stuffing them into the storage bag, he looked at the distance intently and lowered his voice and said, "If something happens, Do you want to go take a look? Zhou Daocheng thought for a while and said, looking at the movement, it should be a monk, maybe a fellow Taoist from the spirit snake sect. It is necessary to check the situation, then go and have a look. Zhou Daocheng took direct steps, shuttled through the jungle, and quickly moved in the direction of the sound, with Zhou Daocheng following closely behind. The first time he saw the figure, the familiar spirit snake sect costumes came into view, and Zhou Daocheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Really the spirit snake sect? Looking closely, there were only a dozen people left in the spirit snake sect team. Qin Qingyu was fighting an old man in black robes. There was not much difference in strength between the two, and they were inseparable. However, the battle between the two looked very awkward and seemed to be full of loopholes. Each sword was a little slow and the spells they released were all crooked. Sensing the abnormality, Zhou Daocheng looked at their eyes and found that they were all closed, probably still in an illusion. After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng took action without hesitation, using his spiritual magic to turn his spirit into a sharp needle and pierce Qin Qingyu's mind directly. After this period of training, this method of controlling mental power has become perfect. The fine mental needles will not cause any harm to the consciousness, they only have a stimulating effect, which is enough to restore the person who has fallen into the illusion. Stimulated by the mental power, Qin Qingyu's face changed drastically during the battle, his body froze, and he felt a strong sense of insecurity. But the next moment, a moment of mental confusion made him temporarily escape from the illusion. He vaguely noticed something unusual and looked very struggling. A moment of slowness also allowed the old man in black to seize the opportunity. The green palm print came quickly with great momentum, which was obviously a very powerful spell. Since Zhou Daocheng had taken action, he naturally could not let Qin Qingyu be injured. He took a step forward to block in front, and Wu Tu Gui Yuan protected his right hand, directly resisting the opponent's palm print spell. Suddenly someone entered the battle, and Qin Qingyu and the old man in black noticed it and quickly took a step back. During this time, Qin Qingyu quickly broke free from the illusion and slowly opened his eyes with a hint of confusion. When he saw the figure in front of him clearly, he was a little confused and said, "My friend, what is this?" Zhou Daocheng did not say much. "I'll explain it later." "Do you know this old man?" He had to at least figure out who the old man in front of him was. If there was a grudge, he would naturally take advantage of him being in the illusion to solve it directly. If it was a misunderstanding, it didn't matter if they were rescued at the same time. However, Qin Qingyu looked at the old man in black in front of him and shook his head and said, "I don't know him. I was clearly fighting a monster just now." Chapter 342 Kinaiyu Temple? Zhou Daocheng immediately understood that this was obviously a misunderstanding, but for the sake of safety, he chose to find out the identity of this person first. The eldest brother Zhou Daocheng took action with tacit understanding. He gently picked up the white bone sword in his hand, directly picked off the waist badge of the old man in black and threw it over. Zhou Daocheng just glanced at it, his expression became strange, and he looked at the old man with some surprise. "How is it? Who is this person?" Zhou Daocheng's expression was normal, but then he seemed to think of something. Suddenly his face changed, and he looked at the old man fiercely, and asked with some surprise, "Is this person from Kinaiyu Guan?" Zhou Daocheng nodded. This was not a very familiar name. Although he had heard of it before, he had no contact with the Zhou family. However, this force has another identity. The master of Kinaiyu Temple is an inner disciple of King Shan sect. His strength has reached the 7th level of foundation building. After leaving King Shan sect, he founded a sect and established Kinaiyu Temple. Although they have left the King Shan sect, Kinaiyu Guan has a close relationship with the King Shan sect and is one of the first forces to join the King Shan sect. However, what does it mean when people from Kinaiyu Guan suddenly appear in 100 Insect Poison Marsh? It goes without saying. Zhou Daocheng's expression darkened. He took a deep look at the old man in black, and said bluntly, "Let's attack together and capture him alive." Zhou Daocheng took action without hesitation. Although Qin Qingyu didn't understand the situation yet, he took out his spear directly. Since they were captured alive, it was naturally impossible to let Zhou Daocheng and Qin Qingyu take the main attack. The two mainly focused on killing. Zhou Daocheng was definitely better at encircling and capturing this kind of thing. The snake bone spiritual array was deployed, and snake bones as white as jade emerged like snake teeth, surrounding the old man in black from all directions, restricting his figure. Then in the spirit puppet formation, the frost poison toad and the poisonous armored lizard jointly attacked, and under Zhou Daocheng's personal control, they were easily injured. Moreover, this person was deeply trapped in the illusion, and his strength was greatly damaged. He was captured without much resistance and was directly trapped in the snake bone spiritual array without being able to move. Zhou Daocheng took out his storage bag without any politeness and rummaged through it. There are no particularly precious items in it. These are elixirs used for daily practice, talismans and magic weapons used in combat. The only valuable ones are two long blast wind talisman, which are used to enhance speed and are used on the road, or a talisman for escape. These things were not too noteworthy, but Zhou Daocheng took out a few envelopes from the storage bag. When he saw the contents on the envelope, his pupils contracted slightly. On the side, Zhou Daocheng took a look and said with slight surprise, "Is this a private letter to you, Longman?" Qin Chen was also a little surprised. The King Shan sect has moved so quickly. In just a short time, it has already instigated the rebellion of the Wang family of Canyon Mountain. It is truly worthy of its thousands of years of heritage. Zhou Daocheng nodded slightly, but then shook his head and said, "It shouldn't be an instigation of rebellion." Maybe the Yulongmen had already defected to the King Shan sect from the beginning, but because it was close to the 100 insect poison swamp, they took advantage of the situation and defected to Canyon Mountain as an undercover agent. Wang family. If you think about it carefully, this situation has a high probability of happening. Perhaps, among the forces that have taken refuge in Canyon Mountain, apart from the undercover agents of the Yulong sect, there are probably other people from the King Shan sect. Among the forces that have taken refuge in the King Shan sect, there are also many nails planted by the Canyon Shan Wang family and the Tan Puppet Tang family. How could the game between big forces be so simple? Just like a deep pool, there are only slight waves on the surface, but the bottom of the pool may have been turned upside down. And all this time, what Zhou Daocheng and others saw were just superficial waves. Suddenly, Zhou Daocheng asked with some confusion, "Why didn't you Longman use communication stones when contacting King Shan sect? Instead, they used the oldest paper letters." "Aren't they afraid of leaving traces?" Qin Chen explained. "Then you have misunderstood. Communication stones are actually easier to leave traces than letters. After all, communication is transmitted using some kind of spiritual means. The strong men of Xifu can intercept it directly and cannot destroy it even if they want to. This kind of letter is different. After it is burned, there is no way to recover it. And if my guess is correct, this person's storage bag should have a self-destruction method. Once something unexpected happens, all evidence can be destroyed immediately." Zhou Daocheng was stunned, and immediately checked the storage bag, and found that there was a restriction hidden in it, which could cause the storage bag to self-destruct with just a thought. However, the situation of the colorful miasma was completely accidental. He was in a fantasy world and couldn't tell the difference between real and fake, so he had no chance to destroy the storage bag. Zhou Daocheng was quite emotional. It seemed that being able to get these letters was an unexpected surprise. At the same time, he also understood what its significance such a letter would have to the Wang family of Canyon Shan. It is definitely not just about destroying the Jade Dragon sect. It is just a small force and is not worth mentioning to the Wang family of Canyon Mountain. However, passing through the Jade Dragon Gate can lead to a huge clue, which may play a vital role at a critical moment. If we take action now and directly uproot all of the undercover agents, we will definitely give the Canyon Shan Wang family a certain advantage and avoid many dangers and the possibility of leaking secrets. Or they could leave the Jade Dragon Gate behind and wait until the critical moment to send some wrong news to the King Shan sect, which could also significantly affect the situation of the battle. Qin Chen couldn't help but said, "TSK, little friend, it seems that you have made a lot of money this time. If you give this thing to the Wang family of Canyon Mountain, I'm afraid it won't be an exaggeration to exchange it for a Foundation establishment pill. Zhou Daocheng also looked excited. The value of these ordinary letters was definitely beyond imagination. All you need to do is hand over the old man in black in front of you and all the letters here to the head of the Wang family, and you can completely consolidate Wu Gu's position in the poisonous swamp of 100 insects. Originally, he planned to stay in the colorful miasma for a few more days, but after this accident, Zhou Daocheng changed his mind and rushed back to the outskirts of the 100 insect poison marsh overnight to hand over the things to the Wang family as soon as possible. Before that, he also used mental power to free all the monks of the spirit snake sect from the illusion. By the way, let me explain the general situation to Qin Qiu. When Qin Qiu learned about the strange ability of the colorful miasma and the state they were in before, Qin Qiu also stood on his head with the hair on his head, feeling that he had just walked away from the gate of hell. If I don't have my little friend to rescue me this time, I'm afraid our spirit snake sect will be completely wiped out here. Qin Qiu sighed in fear, looking at the colorful miasma around him with a hint of fear in his eyes. Although Zhou Daocheng had told them how to resist the colorful miasma, they still couldn't resist the fear in their hearts, so they didn't want to stay long and left directly with Zhou Daocheng and others. Chapter 343 Contribution Point Exchange. And this time, the Spirit Snake Sect also suffered heavy losses in hunting monsters, and the hunting team they brought was almost completely destroyed. And after they fell into the illusion, they did not rest on the spot like Zhou Daocheng did, but kept rushing around in the colorful miasma, which led to the loss of many disciples, and many people were attacked by monsters. So now there are only a dozen people left. Therefore, even if they are rescued now, they have no intention of continuing to hunt monsters, and only want to return to the sect as soon as possible. After nearly half a month of traveling, the two forces rushed all the way back to the periphery of the 100 insects poison swamp. And in the periphery, they found the leader of the earthly evil sect, Lin Zion, who had come out in advance. After a brief conversation, the two learned that Lin Zion ran all the way back after being chased by wild beasts that day, which avoided falling into danger. Afterwards, they also tried to contact Zhou Daocheng and Qin Qiu, but the communication stones of both sides were completely ineffective and could not be connected at all. Perhaps strictly speaking, it cannot be considered ineffective, but because they are in the illusion, they will imagine the sound of the communication stone as other sounds, so they don't care at all. Lin Zion was alone, so he dared not go deeper, so he could only hunt monsters on the periphery. So fortunately he did not encounter the dangerous situation of Zhou Daocheng and others. At this moment, seeing Zhou Daocheng and Qin Qiu's heavy losses, Lin Zion was also frightened, and secretly sighed that it was fortunate that he did not go deeper, otherwise he would probably suffer the same ordeal. After a brief conversation, the three of them did not want to continue hunting monsters, so they separated to rest. Lin Zion took the main focus of stability and continued to stay on the periphery to hunt weaker monsters. Although the harvest was relatively small, it was relatively safer. Qin Qiu, on the other hand, took the remaining disciples of the Spirit Snake Sect and rushed directly back to the Spirit Snake Sect. He should not come again in a short time. Finally, Zhou Daocheng and his eldest brother Zhou Daobai also parted ways. The eldest brother Zhou Daobai took the Qingfeng shuttle and rushed back to Bailin Lake urgently, telling the old patriarch about the third-level spirit stone vein, and tried to arrange the migration as soon as possible. At the same time, he also needs to return to Shenlin Mountain, where there are nearly 20,000 ordinary mortals. If possible, he should take a group with him. After all, the area of the island is not small, and many tribesmen should be able to survive. The group of mortals going there can also add some fresh blood to the island. Zhou Daocheng went directly to see the head of the Wang family, but before that, he also sorted out the harvest this time. During the hunting of monsters this time, a lot of monster materials and precious natural treasures were obtained. Some of the materials are more precious and will be kept for their own use. As for the remaining ordinary materials, they will be exchanged for contribution points. For example, the spiritual life tree, the spider silk of the black flower ghost spider, the blood teeth and leather of the blood tooth wild boar, the bones of the golden bone tiger, The 4 yuanling flowers, etc., are expensive and rare, so they will be left for their own use. As for the remaining materials, find the cultivators of the Wang family in Canyon Mountain to estimate and exchange them for contribution points. In the end, all the monster materials of the second level monsters, plus some spiritual medicines and ores, were exchanged for more than 2,800 contribution points, which was more than he expected. After all, the most precious materials had been taken away by him. If all were added, it would probably exceed 5,000. Perhaps, the bones of the golden bone tiger alone could be worth thousands of contribution points, not to mention more precious items such as the spiritual life tree. In total, there are now more than 3,000 contribution points. Zhou Daocheng checked the list of items that can be exchanged and found that he could exchange quite a few items. Second level inferior elixir only requires more than 500 contribution points. Second level magic tools are relatively more expensive, about 1,000 contribution points. Second level talismans are relatively cheaper, 500 contribution points can buy 2-3 pieces. But the price of higher quality talismans is also very expensive. There are also formations for sale, but they are expensive. For example, the second level lower grade Zhuang Liu Pan formation is not a formation plate, but a large-scale formation arranged on the ground. It is more powerful and covers an area of 50 miles. The price is as high as 2,500 contribution points. The price of puppets is the same. They should be from the Tang family. The second level lower grade puppets are worth more than 2,500 contribution points. Of course, is this price expensive? Different people naturally have different opinions. For most forces, using 2,500 contribution points to buy a formation or a second level puppet is definitely a very profitable thing. In the market, if they want to buy these precious items, they will spend at least 50,000 to 100,000 spirit stones, and in most cases, there is no market for them, and they can't buy them even if they want to. So in a sense, contribution points are still very precious, and they can be regarded as the benefits given to everyone by the Wang and Tang families. However, for Zhou Daocheng, this price is a bit unrealistic, because neither the formation nor the puppet is what he needs. After all, he is a second level formation master. He can actually set up formations similar to the Zhuang Liu Pan formation, but he rarely sets up real formations. Of course, there is nothing he can do about it. It's mainly because it's not needed. For example, Bailin Lake has a low-quality spiritual vein and is not very dangerous. There is no need to set up a second-level large formation. A few mist-hidden formations are enough. Not to mention the Mist Valley, which has a second-level superior natural formation, which means that it can protect this market for a long time. However, Zhou Daocheng will most likely set up a second-level large-scale formation on the recently discovered island. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng's eyes are more focused on other items, such as various cultivation resources, techniques, spells, etc. However, the techniques and spells that can be put on the shelves are not of high quality, and many are ordinary goods. After repeated screening, Zhou Daocheng still did not find a satisfactory one. However, in the end, he bought a set of first-level top-quality basic spells for immortal cultivation. This is not a high-end technique, and it can even be said to be very popular. The price is also very cheap, and it only consumes 100 contribution points. It records 12 first-level spells that can be practiced in the Qi refining period, as well as some control spells and basic knowledge of meditation practice. It is generally used to lay the foundation. However, this set of classics can indeed enhance the foundation. At least in Zhou Daocheng's impression, there was no such comprehensive spell in the Zhou family before. The 12 spells contained in it include Fireball, Spirit Train, Earth Wall, Golden Arm, Speed, Birth Promotion, Spring, Soul Return, etc., which can be used in various aspects. It includes attack, defense, escape, recovery of spiritual energy, body cleansing, watering of spiritual medicine, birth promotion of spiritual medicine, etc. Although the effects are relatively weak, they have extraordinary significance for weaker cultivators. Chapter 344, Exchange for Foundation Building Pill. If the descendants of the Zhou family can be allowed to practice from an early age, they will definitely be able to lay a very good foundation. Zhou Daocheng did not exchange the remaining contribution points at will, but felt that they should be exchanged for some treasures that would increase the family's heritage, such as elixirs and heavenly materials and earthly treasures that would enhance cultivation and assist breakthroughs. The foundation establishment bill is naturally the most suitable, but it requires too many contribution points and cannot be redeemed yet. Zhou Daocheng thought for a long time and gave up the exchange for the time being. He planned to wait until he handed over the old man Canai Guan to the head of the Wang family to see if he could get another contribution point. At that time, he might be able to exchange it directly for the foundation establishment pill. Arriving at the location of the Wang family in Cayenne Mountain, Zhou Daocheng was about to go in, but was directly stopped by the Wang family members. "Fellow Taoist, this is the important place of my Wang family. What can I ask you for?" Zhou Daocheng said calmly. "Please tell the head of the Wang family that the juniors from Wuyifang City have something to ask for." The monk from the Wang family frowned and said, "The master of the family is busy with affairs. It's not something you can just meet if you want. Is there a summons from the master of the family?" Zhou Daocheng was a little helpless. He didn't expect that it would be difficult to meet the head of the Wang family, but it didn't seem surprising when he thought that he was the head of the Zifu family. After thinking for a moment, Zhou Daocheng said, "Fellow Taoist, please tell Master Wang that what I want to report is related to the war between the Z Mansion forces." With that said, Zhou Daocheng took out a bag of spirit stones and stuffed them into the hands of the person blocking the road. The other party's eyes moved, but after checking the spirit stone in the storage bag, he still accepted it calmly, coughed lightly and said, "Since fellow Taoist is so wise, I will go in and report it for you." A quarter of an hour later, Zhou Daocheng successfully met Wang Yunli, the head of the Wang family. "My friend from Wugu, why are you in such a hurry to find me? It is said that it can affect the situation of the Z Mansion's forces." "I'm afraid this is a bit exaggerated," Wang Yunli said calmly. "Now before the war, he, the head of the Wang family, has many things to do, so he will naturally not be in a good mood after being disturbed." Zhou Daocheng didn't say much and chose to get straight to the point. He directly threw the old man in black forward, and then handed over the important letter. Wang Yunli had some doubts in his eyes. He glanced at the old man in black on the ground, and then focused on the letter in his hand. After just a few glances, his expression fluctuated slightly. He looked at Zhou Daocheng fiercely and asked in a deep voice, "Where was this person caught?" "Deep in the poisonous insect swamp." "Can the identity be confirmed?" Zhou Daocheng handed over the identity jade tag and said, "This person should be from Kanai Temple. Senior can investigate and find out this person's identity." Wang Yunli's eyes fluctuated. Zhou Daocheng didn't need to say more. He actually believed it. After all, many things cannot be faked, and there is no need to fake them. However, this matter was very relevant. Wang Yunli did not dare to be careless at all. He directly called the Wang family monks outside and said in a cold voice, "Go and check the situation of Kanai Guan under the King Shan sect. Find out the people." Tens of minutes later, a thick stack of information was placed in front of Wang Yunli. Wang Yunli glanced at the previous information and murmured to himself, "The great elder of Kanai Temple, the temple's main disciple Wang Boyan, the fourth level of foundation building." When the identity of this person was truly confirmed, a faint surprise flashed deep in Wang Yunli's eyes. As the head of a family, how deep is his city in thinking? He knows the value of the person in front of him better than anyone else. If done well, the Wang family can gain a huge advantage before the war even begins. It can even play an extremely huge role at critical moments. Even for safety reasons, just obtain some internal information of King Shan sect from Old Man of the Night can bring huge value. The head of the Wang family knows how to operate it specifically. After lowering his eyes and thinking deeply for a long time, Wang Yunli slowly raised his head, took a deep look at the young man in front of him, and said, "This person is of great value. I will accept it. Just tell me what reward you need." Zhou Daocheng looked happy and said, "This junior has 2 requests." "Say it. As long as it doesn't go too far, I can make the decision." Wang Yunli took a sip of tea and said calmly. Zhou Daocheng organized his speech and said, "We in Wuyifang City are just a small force, and the foundation building inheritance is unstable, so I hope to exchange it for a foundation building pill." Wang Yunli was not surprised. He nodded and said, "This is not a problem. The contribution points should be directly exchanged for the foundation establishment pill. I will work with you." As soon as these words came out, Zhou Daocheng just thought for a moment, and surprise appeared on his face. The meaning of this is actually equivalent to giving Zhou Daocheng a foundation building pill directly. He could spend only a little of his contribution points and then buy the foundation establishment pill, and the Wang family would still exchange it for him. As for why not give one directly, he probably understood the reason. Even for the Wang family, foundation establishment pills are not a common commodity. Taking out a few in the contribution point exchange is already a big loss, so naturally it is impossible to take out more. Zhou Daocheng hurriedly thanked him, but Wang Yunli just waved his hand and said, "You don't need to be polite, little friend. Let me make my second request." Zhou Daocheng couldn't hide the joy on his face and continued, "When I was cleaning out the monsters in the poisonous poison swamp, I found a spiritual vein. I hope to occupy the spiritual vein and take root here completely." "Oh?" Wang Yunli's eyes lit up and he asked, "What quality of spiritual veins?" "Second, level top grade." Zhou Daocheng replied seriously, choosing to lie about the quality. The influence of the third-level spiritual stone vein is too great. He cannot guarantee that the Wang family will not be tempted, so it is necessary to cover it up. Besides, it is impossible for the Wang family to check this kind of thing in person. Wang Yunli nodded in admiration. Just relying on the cultivation of the early stage of foundation building, you can find a second-level high-grade spiritual vein. It seems that your means are not simple. It's just good luck. It happens to be a hidden spiritual vein that has not been occupied by monsters. Luck is also part of strength, since it is the spiritual vein you found in Wugu. And I promised you before that I can reward you with a spiritual vein in Wugu. This spiritual vein belongs to you. When you exchange it for foundation building pills later, remember to report it." Wang Yunli smiled and arranged. Although the second-level high-grade spiritual vein is very precious, it is not necessary for the Kayang and Shan Wang family, who has a big family business, to snatch it. Zhou Daocheng achieved his goal, so he bowed and said goodbye directly, without any dragging his feet. He was in a hurry to exchange for the foundation building pills. After all, the number of foundation building pills was limited, and he could only feel at ease when he got them in person. Returning to the contribution point exchange place again, he needed to use up his contribution points first, and then get the foundation building pills for free. After thinking for a long time again, Zhou Daocheng muttered to himself, "The cultivation pills need to be from the same batch. Buy 3 Yuanling pills and Hua Yuan pills each, which will cost about 2,500 contribution points. These 2 kinds of pills are very precious second-level pills." If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 345 Market Expansion. Zhou Daocheng still has a few Yuanling pills on his body. They are given to monks in the early stage of foundation building. They can greatly improve their cultivation. They are one of the most common cultivation pills. It is definitely a good idea to reserve more. Hua Yuan Dan is a second-level middle-grade elixir. Its effect is not much different from that of Yuanling Dan. They are both elixirs for improving cultivation. They are only used by monks in the middle stage of foundation building and will definitely be used in the future. In addition, with the remaining 500 contribution points, Zhou Daocheng purchased a second-level growth liquid formula called Lina Growth Liquid after careful consideration. This is a relatively rare, but highly valuable item. The growth liquid it contains can accelerate the growth of elixirs and can also provide vitality to stunted elixirs. This is a general-purpose growth solution. Although it has a wide range of uses, the effect should be slightly worse than some unique growth solutions. But even so, Zhou Daocheng was very satisfied. After all, it was impossible to develop and prepare a growth solution for every kind of elixir. This was really unrealistic. This linear growth liquid can be applied to various elixirs, whether it is lower quality linga or higher quality purple chi green bamboo. It will have certain effects. In the end, with dozens of contribution points left, Zhou Daocheng directly exchanged them for a foundation establishment pill. Seeing this kind of pill again, Zhou Daocheng still couldn't help but sigh inexplicably. In order to buy a foundation building pill, almost half of Zhou family's life had been consumed, especially the last one, that is, the foundation building pill taken by the eldest brother Zhou Daobai, almost killed the entire Yongzhi generation and Chengxi generation, and truly exchanged the lives of 2 generations for the inheritance of the family. But at this moment, everything becomes easier. However, for the sake of safety, Zhou Daocheng did not stay in Baikon Poison Marsh, but rushed back to Foggy Valley. At this time, the King Shan sect and the Wang and Tang families are still confronting each other. The war has not yet started in an all-round way. All parties are relatively free. Once the war starts, it will be difficult to even go back to Foggy Valley. Zhou Daocheng must take advantage of this opportunity to rush back to Wulgu to make arrangements, take away some important things and transfer them to the 3rd level spirit stone veins as much as possible. The Foggy Valley is still the same, shrouded in thick clouds and mist, looking quiet and peaceful. However, the number of monks coming and going has increased a lot, and the strength of the monks coming and going has increased significantly. In the past, there were only about 50,000 monks in Wulgufang City, but now, it is conservatively estimated that the number of monks exceeds 150,000. So at first glance, it already seems a bit crowded. Zhou Daocheng was not surprised. This was actually a very normal thing. Because Wulgufang City is the closest city to 100 Worms Poison Marsh, many forces come from all directions and will stop and rest in Wulgufang City. Moreover, after Zhou Daocheng took the initiative to join the Wang family, Wulgufangshi, which was originally not well known, became completely known to everyone and gradually became a familiar city. Moreover, with future development, Foggy Valley will most likely be further expanded. After all, there is a large market nearby, and as long as a little benefit comes out, it will be enough for Wulgu to eat a lot. Many monks do not have the conditions to live in Donglanfang City, so they can only settle for the next best thing and live in Wulgu, which has relatively poor conditions. There are many loose cultivators or forces that are weak and not competitive enough. They cannot participate in the competition in Donglanfang City, so they can only survive in Wulgufang City. Donglanfang City will greatly increase the upper limit of Wulgufang City, bringing a lot of new blood and the addition of strong people. At the same time, Wulgufang City will share some of the pressure from Donglanfang City. Not only are the 2 sides not competing, but they can also complement each other and be connected on the periphery of the Dongdawang vein to increase the development progress of the 100 Chong Poison Marsh. After seeing this situation, Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but think, it seems that it is necessary to expand the city. Maybe under the influence of Donglanfang City, Wulgufang City may really go further. Zhou Daocheng's eyes flickered. The scale of Wulgufang market today is not even comparable to some small markets. It can only be said to be between micro markets and small markets. Even so, it has been able to bring a lot of wealth to Zhou Daocheng. So if one day, Wulgufang City truly becomes a small city, or even a medium-sized city, the benefits it can bring will inevitably increase several times. Just expanding the market cannot be done casually. Zhou Daocheng can actually use the formation to expand the area of the entire city, but the establishment of the city is still a huge project, including the later planning of the city, which also requires a lot of energy. Zhou Daocheng was thinking as he headed to the back of Wulgufang City. He planned to go to the place of gathering Yin first, discuss the situation with Wei Hanshan, and take a look at the practice of Xuanian body refining technique. So, instead of returning to Wulgu Valley, Zhou Daocheng went directly to the place where Yin gathered. The place is still full of gloomy energy, and it is a dark scene. You can't see the sky when you walk in it, Only the gloomy energy is enveloped. But I have to say that the environment here is definitely a treasure place for cultivating the yin attribute. Although it was a bit uncomfortable for Zhou Daocheng to walk in it, the value of this place of gathering yin could not be denied. Zhou Daocheng was familiar with the road and dug a tunnel from the southern entrance to enter the place of Juyan. However, when he was walking in the tunnel, halfway through, his eyes suddenly froze and his frown stayed in place, because at that moment, he had a vague premonition that made his heart tremble. For a strong person who has built a foundation, it is impossible to have palpitations for no reason. This kind of perception must have a reason. Zhou Daocheng walked slowly in the tunnel with a deep breath, sensing the situation around him. After a few breaths, his eyes looked in a certain direction. There was no passage there, but an area blocked by mud. But Zhou Daocheng vaguely sensed that there must be something going on there, because just now, he felt that there were faint wisps of yin qi gathering in that direction. Although the number was very small, he still sensed it. There is a problem. Zhou Daocheng's eyes flickered, the light shield of the blue moon bracelet on his body flickered, and the spell Wu Tu Gui Yuan also surrounded him, always alert to the surrounding environment. At the same time, the quicksand formation and golden spear 100 vine formation in his hands also turned around and drilled in the direction of the abnormality. In just a few breaths, a huge hole was drilled. This is what Zhou Daocheng could clearly feel. After opening the passage, the yin qi inside was obviously several times denser. Sure enough, there is something going on. As the passage was further expanded and deeper into it, after about a dozen feet, the formation suddenly stopped. The path inside was opened. Zhou Daocheng took a step forward, but as soon as he approached, he felt a sense of danger and could not help but retreat suddenly. Chapter 346 Black Zombie. The next moment, he saw a pair of black and dry hands, wrapped in a thick and sinister aura, attacking him fiercely. Zhou Daocheng retreated quickly. If he hadn't dodged in time, he would have been seriously injured by this move. He immediately felt cold sweat. What is this? Qi Yuan was shocked and quickly retreated. Wu Tu Gui Yuan wrapped his whole body. The array plate in his hand had been taken out, and he looked at the black and dry hands in front of him vigilantly. Zhou Daocheng was sure that this was definitely a human hand, but it was very likely not a living person's hand. After taking a step back, he also roughly saw the appearance of the sneak attacker. A person of not very tall, full of wrinkles, shriveled and black. Looks extremely weird. Zhou Daocheng's eyes condensed, and he muttered to himself, "Is this a zombie?" Only then did he recall in his mind that this was a rare secret technique in the world of immortal cultivation, which could refine dead bodies into zombies. This kind of zombie has an extremely hard body, which is almost impossible for cultivators of the same level to break, and its combat power is also very terrifying. Moreover, zombies are horribly poisonous. If you are hit by them accidentally, you will be invaded by the corpse poison. The zombie in front of you should be a second-level zombie, and its strength is very strong. As soon as Zhou Daocheng found the zombie, he immediately blasted the surrounding soil and looked behind the zombie. This kind of zombie is almost impossible to exist naturally. It must be artificially refined, so its owner must be nearby. As the surrounding soil was lifted up, a 20-square-meter hole appeared in the back. It should be a small cave, and in it, there was indeed a black-robed figure sitting upright. Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly and said in a cold voice, "Who are you, and why did you break into my territory?" The black-clothed man sitting on the ground raised his head slightly, showing a pale face of a young man. He looked very young, but his eyes were sinister and deep, which made people shudder. The voice was hoarse, like a strong wind pouring into a wooden hole. "Your territory. So what? It doesn't belong to you now." The sinister young man looked cold, and quickly pinched the magic formula in his hand to control the dark zombie. The dark claws attacked Zhou Daocheng at a very fast speed. Zhou Daocheng hurriedly retreated, but he was underground, and the position was very narrow. There was no chance to move significantly, so he could only let the zombie attack. He also showed a defensive spell, Wu Tu Gui Yuan tightly wrapped. No matter how the zombie attacked, it could not cause effective damage. The sinister young man exclaimed, looked at Zhou Daocheng with interest, and sighed softly. What a strong defense. It can actually withstand the frontal attack of the black zombie. This second-level zombie, although only the second-level lower grade, is more powerful than that. Many strong men in the middle stage of foundation building will be killed if they are not careful. This kind of zombie that does not use magic and fights with pure physical strength is enough to suppress many monks with weaker physical fitness, and is almost invincible. Even many second-level body-refining monks are not as good as zombies in terms of physical fitness. However, only Zhou Daocheng himself knows what kind of price he has to pay to withstand these attacks. Even though his defense is strong enough, he still feels very tired when facing it, and he was almost directly broken by Wu Tu Gui Yuan. This has to be said that the spell of Wu Tu Gui Yuan is not a one-time defense like the Blue Moon Bracelet. It can continuously input Wu Tu spiritual energy and maintain a high-intensity defense state. It is because of this that Zhou Daocheng can withstand it. So strong. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but sigh. The young man in front of him seemed to be younger than him, and he had such terrible strength. This was definitely not simple. On the opposite side, the sinister young man also showed a surprised expression. He looked at Zhou Daocheng with interest and said lightly, "If you can withstand this time, how many times can you withstand it?" The young man stood up, and the spell in his hand changed. A blue-black light instantly hit the body of the black zombie. The zombie stopped immediately, and the hard and old skin on the body began to twitch. After 2 breaths, black mist began to emerge from the 7 orifices. The corpse gas accompanied by the yin gas merged with the zombie in a short time, and the originally dark body was covered with a layer of dark green. The dangerous breath filled the air, and even the surrounding soil cracked. Zhou Daocheng couldn't help but step back a few steps and didn't dare to get close. Zhou Daocheng didn't know much about zombies. After all, he only heard from others that their physical strength was extremely high. However, he didn't know what kind of ability the zombie training method had, especially the method used by the sinister young man just now, which instantly improved the zombie's strength a lot. Faced with such a situation, Zhou Daocheng no longer dared to face the enemy in person. He was a tortoise shell, with only defense and no attack. No matter how hard he fought, there would be no result. The real means still came from the formation. He did not hesitate to attack, and the snake bone spiritual formation drilled out of the soil and instantly stabbed the dark green zombie. But the hardness of the snake bone was too low. It did not cause any damage when it touched the zombie's skin. Instead, it was corroded by the poison gas and showed a lot of corrosion marks. The sinister young man could watch this scene without any change in his expression. He did not take such ordinary formation means into consideration at all. He just whispered to himself, "Second-level formation master, but the formation level is too ordinary." But before he finished speaking, the sinister young man's eyes suddenly changed. Looking at the newly appeared formation, his eyes narrowed slightly. This formation seems to be a little special. The spirit puppet formation appeared, and as the strongest means now, it immediately summoned 2 second-level spirit puppets, namely the blood-toothed wild boar and the purple flame spirit cat. Both of them are powerful. One is mainly offensive, and can mainly attack and control the mind. They immediately showed tacit cooperation. They could not be used in the tunnel, but they still suppressed the dark green zombie for a short time. Although the corpse poison of the dark green zombie is extremely harmful, it is not very effective for the puppet. After a few force collisions, there was not much effect. Zhou Daocheng's eyes were deep, secretly controlling the 2 spirit puppets, silently looking for opportunities. Finally, as the green zombie revealed a hole, the blood-toothed wild boar rushed over and ran directly in the tunnel. Originally, the sinister young man did not take it seriously and was about to control the zombie to stop it. But the next moment, he saw the purple flame spirit cat quickly acted, and the purple flame wrapped the dark green zombie and controlled the zombie in an instant. It was this moment of opportunity, and the blood-toothed wild boar immediately passed the zombie and attacked the sinister young man behind. The sinister young man's expression changed slightly, and he hurried to stop it, but it was too late, and he could only withstand the attack of the blood-toothed wild boar. Boom! Bang! A huge roar echoed, and the surrounding soil and rocks kept falling, almost shaking the entire tunnel down. Chapter 347, Jiangyu Immortal Cultivation World. As the smoke and dust enveloped him, Zhou Daocheng breathed a sigh of relief. This series of actions were all completed in a short time. If you want to resolve the battle as quickly as possible, you cannot target zombies. This thing is just like the iron lump, and it is very troublesome to kill it completely. The best way is to get rid of the sinister young man behind. So at the beginning, Zhou Daocheng secretly kept a secret and did not let the Zensivit use Zen, just to make the final decision at the critical moment. The results are also very good. The effect of purple flame is very good, especially for zombies dominated by yin qi and corpse qi. It is simply a natural restraint. Just when Zhou Daocheng breathed a sigh of relief and planned to end the battle completely and deal with the young man, an accident suddenly happened. The zombie broke away from Zen's control in an instant, and slapped the Zensivit away with one palm. It quickly attacked Zhou Daocheng as if it had not been harmed at all. Zhou Daocheng's eyes moved, and he knew very well that Zen left a lot of burn marks on the zombies, so he must have suffered serious injuries. And it was absolutely impossible for him to be unharmed. There is only one reason for such a change, that is, the young man is not dead and is still controlling the zombies. Seeing the zombies attacking at a rapid speed, Zhou Daocheng first showed a look of fear, but then, the fear slowly subsided, and then turned into a hidden smile. "You're the one I've been waiting for." Yuan protected his whole body, and the zombies could not be broken through with one attack. After only a short pause, Zhou Daocheng took action quickly. The red snake flame, which is more terrifying than the purple flame, bursts out with all its strength. This is the first time Zhou Daocheng uses the red snake tattoo with all his strength. The power of this kind of tattoo reaches the second level high grade, and it may even be a third level magical power. Although it has not yet reached the third level, if it is used without any scruples, it may be possible to reach the level of minor supernatural powers, but it will be difficult for the body to bear it. Zhou Daocheng struck out with a palm, and the red snake flame set off a terrifying heat wave, turning the entire tunnel into fiery red. The temperature increased by more than dozens of degrees, completely melting the surrounding soil and stones, and even the skin on the zombies begins to burn. With such a strong attack and stimulation, this zombie actually began to make a wailing sound, crackling and burning, making it unable to help but retreat. Zhou Daocheng, on the other hand, showed no mercy, and inserted his hand covered in red snake flames directly into the zombie's brow. Whether it is a monk, a monster, or a puppet, they all have a core, and zombies are no exception. If you guessed correctly, the core of this zombie should be in the head or heart. Zhou Daocheng said lightly. Zombies are not flawless, because they are made from dead objects. They require a trace of mental power in the zombies to control them. Moreover, if zombies want to improve their strength, they also need a core to accumulate corpse energy and yin energy. This is just like the meridians and danshan of human beings, the demon elixir of monsters, and the spirit stones at the core of puppets. They are all indispensable. Once destroyed, they will be seriously injured and lose all their strength, or die on the spot. Zombies, too. As Zhou Daocheng stabbed his finger, the flames burned the zombie's head, and a zombie slowly fell down. The tunnel fell into silence, and it took a long time to think of clapping. Ba bang bang, the sinister young man stood up from the dust in the distance, looked at Qi Yuan with a stern face, and said calmly, "Your Majesty, it's a good idea. It's a lie to attack me, and it's a lie to attack the puppet. It turns out that the real trump card is hidden in yourself." Zhou Daocheng looked at the young man with solemn eyes. "You are equally good at it. The plan is actually full of changes. It would be great if the blood-toothed wild boar could be used to seriously injure the young man from the very beginning. But now it seems that the young man's own strength is also very good. He can at least bear the blood-toothed wild boar, and at least he has the third level of foundation building. Coupled with the fact that he has such a young face, probably no more than 20 years old, it is even more amazing. The sinister young man did not make another move or continue to compliment, but changed the subject and asked, "Are you an array master?" However, before Qi Yuan could speak, the young man continued, "But Your formation method seems to be very special. It is obviously a first-level formation method. In this way, you can control the corpse of a third-level foundation-building monster. This is your unique method. Zhou Daocheng frowned slightly. The formation road is open to all rivers, and there are so many talents in the world. What's wrong with making changes? Hearing this, the sinister young man was stunned for a moment, and then showed a sinister smile. Yes, yes, what's the point of following the rules? It's precisely because of changes that it becomes interesting. Zhou Daocheng didn't talk nonsense with this person, and said coldly, Your Excellency, please leave here. Don't blame me for continuing to take action. After thinking for a moment, he still chose to give up and leave. He was so young and was proficient in zombie refining. His identity was probably not simple. If he were to be killed, there would be consequences. The young man did not speak, but walked over slowly and stood in front of Zhou Daocheng with calm eyes. He said calmly, I need to borrow this place to gather yin. I will leave when I'm done with it. Then, with just a slight wave of his hand, the black man on the ground slowly got up, followed by the young man sluggishly, and walked out of the passage. Zhou Daocheng's eyes narrowed. He took a deep look at Hai Zheng, and then at the young man, feeling cold sweat breaking out. Hai's actually didn't die. He was almost certain that when he took action previously, he must have destroyed the key point of this black zombie. If it was an ordinary black zombie, he would definitely die. Moreover, the red snake flame is a masculine fire, which is particularly restrained against the evil spirit, and will inevitably cause greater damage to the black zombie. As a result, under such circumstances, the black zombie can actually stand up, which is incredible. And there is one more important point! The black zombie was not completely dead, and had been lying at his feet before. If he suddenly attacked, I am afraid that even if Zhou Daocheng had a strong defense, he would be injured. It's just that I, the young man, did not do it. Looking at the back figure moving away, Zhou Daocheng's eyes were deep, and he suddenly said, What's your name? Which force are you from? The sinister young man paused, but replied, Yunzhi. Then he took out a bronze jade token from his waist and threw it directly to Zhou Daocheng. He said, If you have the opportunity to go to the Jiangaiuxian realm in the future, you can find me with the jade token. If I am free, I will buy you a pot of wine. After that, he left without looking back. However, he should not have completely left the yin gathering place, but found a new area and began to absorb the yin energy here. Zhou Daocheng glanced at the jade token, which was engraved with an ancient character, which should be the word ghost in the ancient characters of the immortal world. Jiangaiu immortal world. Other people in the immortal world? Zhou Daocheng muttered to himself, with a surprised tone. Chapter 348 Cultivation Progress. Each immortal cultivation world has an extremely large territory, with a large number of immortal cultivation forces living inside. The environment and cultural customs are very different, almost two completely different worlds. It may be difficult for a foundation-building expert to leave an immortal cultivation world in his entire life. Just like the Nanning immortal cultivation world where King Shan sect is located, it is just one of the many immortal cultivation worlds, among which there are a large number of forces like King Shan sect. The so-called King Shan sect territory is just a corner of the Nanning immortal cultivation world. For the Zhou family, it is not easy to leave the King Shan sect territory, let alone cross the immortal cultivation world. It is said that there is another immortal cultivation world on the other side of the East Great Wilderness Vein, but Zhou Daocheng is not sure whether this immortal cultivation world is the Jiangaiu immortal cultivation world. But no matter what, the identity of this young man is definitely not simple. The forces that can cross the immortal cultivation world are at least 3 level or above. Zhou Daocheng accepted the jade card and did not continue to care about the young man. From the look of him, he was indeed just borrowing the yin energy here. If they really had ulterior motives, they would have killed the cultivators inside and occupied this place of yin gathering, and they would not have hidden underground to cultivate. Since there was no malicious intent, Zhou Daocheng was unwilling to care about it. Entering the yin gathering place, he found the earth spirit house hidden underground. From a distance, Zhou Daocheng could sense that there were a total of 12 sets of earth spirit houses, each of which housed 12 ninth-level Qi refining cultivators. Among them, 11 people were the candidates for practicing the Zhuangyin body refining technique this time, namely Bei Kaiyulan, Huang Long, Wu Xiangling, Huan Yang, Daolan, 3 people from the guard team, 3 people from the hunting team, and Zhu Daocheng. However, because the hunting team was in urgent need of manpower, Liu Chengzhu came out of retreat in advance and participated in the cleaning of the 100 insects poison swamp, so he is not here at the moment. Bei Kaiyulan, Huang Long, Wu Xiangling, Huan Yang, and Zhalan, who had once joined Zhou Daocheng, were at the 8th level of Qi refining, but now, they have all successfully broken through to the 9th level of Qi refining. Moreover, the 5 people's auras are different, and it is obvious that there are differences in their cultivation. Among them, Wu Xiangling and Zhalan have the strongest auras, and their strengths are improving rapidly. They have reached the middle stage of the 9th level of Qi refining, and are almost reaching the late stage. Moreover, because they practiced the 3rd level technique Zhuangyin body refining technique, they are considered half-body cultivators, and their overall strength is extremely high, so their actual combat power should be no weaker than that of ordinary people in the late stage of the 9th level of Qi refining. In addition, Huan Yang's strength has also reached the middle stage of the 9th level of Qi refining, but there is no trace of Yin Sha Qi. Zhou Daocheng understood with a little perception that Huan Yang's spiritual roots were not suitable for Zhuangyin body refining technique, so she did not succeed in practicing, but her strength improved a lot. As a cultivator with 3 spiritual roots of wood, earth and gold, Huan Yang mainly practices wood spiritual roots, and she is also a spiritual plant master. It is normal for her to practice Zhuangyin body refining technique. If she finds a spiritual plant master's inheritance in the future, or a high-quality wood attribute technique, it will not be too late for her to practice. Finally, Bei Kaiyulan and Huang Long had the most special auras. Although they had also reached the 9th level of Qi refining, they should have just broken through, so their auras were a little frivolous. The 2 of them did not practice as a secondary practitioner, but directly practiced the Zhuangyin body refining technique and took this set of exercises as the basis, practicing from the beginning to the 9th level of Qi refining, so the progress was relatively slow. But it was gratifying that both of them succeeded in the recultivation. The body was shrouded in rich and pure Yin Qi, and the body was several times tougher. Although the realm was not as good as the other 3, the strength should not be weak at all. After all, the main practice of the 3rd level exercises greatly improved the strength, and it would also greatly affect the potential. If the probability of Wu Xiangling, Huan Yang, and Zhalan breaking through is 1, then the probability of Bei Kaiyulan and Huang Long breaking through is at least 5. If there are extra foundation building pills, Zhou Daocheng will also consider Bei Kaiyulan and Huang Long first. Moreover, this retraining was a complete transformation for Huang Long. He was originally a half-baked body refining cultivator, but because of the problem of the technique, he was stuck at the 8th level of Qi refining for his whole life. Now that he has started over again, he seems to have been reborn and has shown great potential. In terms of the progress of body refining alone, he is much faster than others. Zhou Daocheng nodded with satisfaction. These 5 people are not included in the system of Wu Yifang City. They belong to Zhou Daocheng's personal combat force and can be brought to the 3rd level Spirit Stone Vein to prepare for the development there. Zhou Daocheng roughly checked the situation of the other 6 people. Zhou Daocheng was not familiar with the 2 people in the hunting team. Both of them were minors in the Zhuangyin body refining technique and they succeeded. In addition, Liu Chengzhu originally planned to retrain the Zhuangyin body refining technique, but failed in the end and came out of retreat ahead of time. The 3 captains of the guard team also minored in the Zhuangyin body refining technique. The process was relatively smooth. Their strength has reached the middle and late stages of the 9th level of Qi refining, which is considered a group of impressive combat forces. Finally, Zhou Daocheng focused on his 4th brother Zhu Daocheng, who also chose to retrain and succeeded, and successfully broke through to the 9th level of Qi refining. Moreover, because of his higher talent, His progress was faster than Betrayals and Huanglong. Zhou Daocheng was actually very curious about how his fourth brother Zhou Daocheng could refine a second-level magic weapon at the 9th level of qi refining. Moreover, the white bone long sword of his eldest brother Zhou Daobai was already a second-level lower-grade magic weapon of good quality. To reach the level of a second-level refiner in the qi refining period is almost something that only appears in legends. Taking this opportunity, Zhou Daocheng could just ask about the situation. After roughly understanding the progress of everyone, Zhou Daocheng pushed the door and entered the Earth Spirit House. Wei Hanshan was guarding everyone. When he noticed something was happening outside, he stood up immediately and stared at the door. But when he saw that it was Zhou Daocheng, he was relieved and bowed respectfully. "Hello, Senior Wu Gu." Zhou Daocheng waved his hand and said, "Thank you for your hard work. How are you? You haven't come out of retreat." Wei Hanshan nodded and said, "After everyone successfully recultivated and supplemented their cultivation, they all came out to report their safety, including those who broke through the realm later." Zhou Daocheng nodded. If a qi refining cultivator retreated for half a year or a year, that would be an abnormal situation. After all, they couldn't even do the fasting, and they still needed to eat spiritual grains. They didn't need to come out of retreat every once in a while. Zhou Daocheng knew that everyone was in good condition, so he didn't continue to retreat with them, but released his own Wu Earth spiritual qi, which spread to everyone's retreat room, causing a faint movement. Such a simple action will not interrupt everyone's practice. It is a relatively gentle method that can wake everyone up from seclusion. Chapter 349 Rearrangement of Fog Valley. Soon, people came out of the customs one after another and came to Zhou Daocheng, saluting one after another. "I've met the Lord of Foggy Valley. Senior Kiritani, are you here?" "I've met Senior Wu Gu." Only Huaniyang came out and said with some embarrassment, "I'm sorry, Senior, I failed to practice the Zhuanyin body refining technique successfully, and I failed my senior." Zhou Daocheng smiled and said calmly, "It's not your problem, it's just that this set of exercises is not suitable for you. Don't think too much about it." Huaniyang looked a little embarrassed, obviously feeling uncomfortable because she could not practice the third-level skills. Even after Zhou Daocheng comforted her, she did not recover. Zhou Daocheng looked at everyone and said, "You are almost done with your cultivation. It just so happens that there are a lot of things to be busy with during this period. It is time for everyone to return to Wuyifang City." Everyone nodded in agreement. Although the training environment here is better, it is impossible to stay here forever and have strong strength. If it cannot really be used, it is useless. A group of 12 people, all of whom have reached the 9th level of qi training, are a very powerful force, enough to make the precarious Wugu more stable. Zhou Daocheng took them back to Wugu and placed them back in their respective posts. The 2 hunting team captains and the 3 guard team captains all returned to their positions and resumed taking charge of their own teams. They have minored and Zhuanyin body refining technique, and also possess powerful magic weapons and formations, as well as elixirs and talismans provided by Zid and Pavilion and the Wang family. They are already extremely powerful beings among the 9th level weapon refining monks. If someone makes trouble in Wuyifang City, but their strength does not exceed the 9th level of qi refining peak, they can easily deal with it. Zhou Daocheng did not make any special arrangements for Beicailan, Huanglong, Wu Xiangling, Huaniyang, and Zhalan. Instead, he planned to take Beicailan, Huanglong, Wu Xiangling, Huaniyang, and Zhalan to Beikan Poison Marsh and still train them as a private combat force. Today, the Zhou family is withering away, and there are only more than 20 clan members in total. There are very few people who can use it, and there are also very few people who are worthy of training. In order to ensure the strength of the family, Zhou Daocheng must accumulate some private combat power to protect his clan members and ensure the safety of the family's residents. In the end, Wei Hanshan returned to his old job and was responsible for managing the entire Wuyifang City. However, from the current point of view, Wei Hanshan's strength is somewhat insufficient, although his strength has reached the late stage of the 9th level of qi refining, which is stronger than most hunting team captains. However, after all, He is the person in charge of Wuyifang City. If he does not have strong strength, how can he control the situation? At least in Zhou Daocheng's opinion, it is necessary to reach the foundation building stage in order to secure this position. But this is almost impossible for Wei Hanshan, because he is over 70 years old. His energy and blood are beginning to decline, and his strength is declining day by day. Even if he obtains the foundation establishment pill, he will not be able to successfully break through. Therefore, Zhou Daocheng could only settle for the second best and let Wei Hanshan and Zhao cooperate with each other to jointly manage Wuyifang City. Fortunately, most of the guards and hunting team captains in Wuyifang City respect Wei Hanshan very much, and they usually call him Old Wei respectfully. The same goes for Zhao, who usually calls Wei Lao, while Wei Hanshan calls Zhao Senior Z. The two sides have different opinions and have a very close relationship. Because of this, Zhou Daocheng can safely hand over the management of Wuyifang City to Wei Hanshan. And taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhou Daocheng also had an exchange with Wei Hanshan about the expansion of Wuyifang City. With the establishment of Donglinfang City and the cleanup of 100 insect poison swamp, the number of monks in the surrounding area will only increase, and the flow of people in Wuyifang City will also increase. Therefore, expansion is very necessary. After hearing Zhou Daocheng's opinion, Wei Hanshan nodded seriously. After thinking carefully for a long time, he said with approval, "For the future of Fangxi, expansion is necessary, and it must be done in a short time. Otherwise it will be more difficult if it is too late." Zhou Daocheng nodded. This was also what he was considering. Nowadays, Donglinfang City has not been built, and the cleanup of 100 insect poison swamp has not been completely completed, so there are relatively few monks around. If we start expansion as early as possible at this time, the impact should be smaller, and future development will also be beneficial. If the time is delayed, expansion will only become more and more difficult. Zhou Daocheng said, "So I plan to expand Fang City in these few days. I will expand the area of the first valley, but the subsequent construction and layout work may need to be completed by Wei Leiji." Wei Hanshan did not agree immediately, but kept thinking in his mind and considering the difficulty of the matter. For Zhou Daocheng, this is a very easy thing. He only needs to use the power of the formation to change the terrain and expand the area. However, for Wei Hanshan, he needs to dismantle the original city, replan and lay out it, and also contact all forces and cooperate together to achieve this expansion of the city. Moreover, in this layout, we also need to consider future expansion and strive to achieve it once and for all. So the complexity is greater than imagined. Wei Hanshan thought about it for a long time and seemed to have made up his mind. He gritted his teeth and said, "Although the matter is a bit difficult, it must be done. Wei, I guarantee that I can do it, but I must try my best." "Mr. Wei, there is no need to feel pressure, just arrange the arrangements. I will take care of any situation that arises." As the Lord of Wugu and the General Manager of Wugu Market, Zhou Daocheng also gave Wei Hanshan enough support at this time to ensure that he did not have to bear too much burden. Wei Hanshan was moved and made a request. "Don't worry, the layout of the market is not a problem. But the most important thing is that all forces need to cooperate. This requires the senior to come forward in person and talk to the heads of the families." Zhou Daocheng nodded and said, "I will go and tell them to cooperate with you at that time." After the instructions, Zhou Daocheng visited them one by one. There is no need to say much about the Zhou family. Whenever there is any need, as long as Zhou Daocheng gives an order, they will naturally support it with all their strength. The Lynx sect is very sensible. As one of the strongest forces, the Lynx sect is very sensible in Wugu Market. On weekdays, they make money. Whatever happens, they will fully cooperate with Zhou Daocheng. This time is no exception. After Zhou Daocheng told him, he agreed directly. Zhou Daocheng also notified Zidane Pavilion, Wang family, and Yuanzong's Yuan family as the earliest force to join Wugu Market. They also agreed immediately. After all, for them, the further expansion of Wugu Market is also a good thing for them. Chapter 350 Qin Family Recent Situation. If they stay in a micro-market, They may not be able to become a foundation-building force in a few decades. However, if it is a small market or a medium-sized market, their future will be brighter. In the end, only the Qin family was left, and Zhou Daocheng visited them in person. In fact, he was not worried that the Qin family would disagree or make trouble. After all, they were no longer the Qin family of Zun Pavilion, and now they were completely down and out. Even the 9th level Qi refining strongman used the spiritual secret method to control, which can be said to be very stable. As for why he had to go there in person, it was also to understand the recent situation of the Qin family. In any case, after all, it has only been a short time since they joined, and more management must be done to prevent some unexpected situations. When he came to the valley of the Qin family, he found that it had been managed very well. At the entrance of the valley, a large number of green spiritual trees were planted, growing lushly, which should be used to decorate the environment. In the valley, a large number of spiritual fields have been reclaimed, and next to the spiritual fields, a pond has been specially built, which contains clear spring water. The spring water is also covered by a set of spirit gathering array, which gathers the spiritual energy and the air into the spring water, so that the pool water contains weak spiritual energy, which can be used to irrigate the spiritual field. However, because the area of the valley is not large, the number of spiritual fields is not large. After all, only some spiritual grains are planted, which is just enough for a small family to eat. Behind the spiritual field, many ancient houses and buildings are built. They are not exquisite and magnificent, but just courtyards for ordinary cultivators to practice and live. Looking around, many clansmen come and go in it. A lively scene. Zhou Daocheng had previously understood the situation of the Qin family. In fact, there are still many of their clansmen. In Beifang City, there are many children and old people, about 40 to 50 people, which is also a relatively large family. At least more than the Zhou family, Wang family, and Zidan Pavilion. And they have a lot of strong people, a full late 6th-stage Qi refining cultivators, which is already very good. However, Zhou Daocheng had already ordered that only 2 9th-level Qi refining cultivators were allowed to move freely, and the other 4 were all to join the hunting team and the guard team. They had no objection to this, and for the better development of the family, they had to obey orders. As for the 2 Qin family cultivators who could move freely, they were Aunt Qin Mu and Ahua generation, Qin Huanian, who was considered Aunt Qin Mu's grandfather. The most prosperous of the entire Qin family was Ahua generation, except for Qin Kaiyuai, a foundation-building strongman. The Kaiyu generation did not have many talented descendants. On the contrary, the Mu generation not only had Aunt Qin Mu, a 2nd-level spiritual root cultivator, but also several 3rd-level spiritual root descendants, a generation full of future. After Zhou Daocheng arrived, he looked around the valley and found that everything was normal, so he went directly to Aunt Qin Mu and Qin Huanian. In a relatively spacious house, the 3 sat opposite each other. Zhou Daocheng was calm, while Aunt Qin Mu and Qin Huanian opposite him seemed a little restrained. Now, Aunt Qin Mu has become the head of the Qin family. She is no longer dressed like a girl. She is dressed in a slightly mature way. Her long hair has been tied up, and she is graceful in her childishness. Don't worry, Senior Wugu. The expansion of Wugu market will also benefit us. Our Qin family will fully cooperate. Aunt Qin Mu nodded in a gentle voice and agreed. Zhou Daocheng nodded calmly and suddenly arranged. Your Qin family was once a big family. You should know the knowledge of the layout and construction of the market, right? Aunt Qin Mu did not answer, but looked at Qin Huanian on the side. After all, these things are not accessible to the younger generation. After a little thought, Qin Huanian said, I do know that 100 years ago, the older generation of the Qin family also participated in the construction of Bay Market, but we, the Qin family members who stayed, are not very proficient in this. It doesn't matter. You will cooperate with Elder Wei and participate in the construction of the market together. Zhou Daocheng arranged directly. It's better to leave it alone. Such hard labor is useless. Although the Qin family is not as good as before, its knowledge is still very deep. Of course, There is another point. Letting the Qin family participate more in the construction of Wuyifang City can also allow them to integrate faster and have more contact with other forces, which is also a good thing. After the explanation, Zhou Daocheng did not stay for long and left directly. It's just a small matter to check on the Qin family. Just make sure they are in good order and have no other messy thoughts. And he himself has more important things to prepare. He needs to transfer some monks, items, and resources to prepare for the third-level station in the 100 insects poison swamp. But at the same time, he also needs to check the recent situation of Wuyifang City, which is also an important part of the development of the Zhou family. After checking the situation in the first valley and the second valley, he found that there is almost no vacant land now. In the first valley, all the shops and Wugu market have been sold or rented, and even some small stalls beside the streets are crowded with monks. In the second valley, the surrounding cliffs are covered with hundreds of caves of various sizes, all of which have been occupied by powerful monks or powerful forces. Including the spiritual fields in the valley, they are all divided. In the past, even if a 9th-level qi refining cultivator appeared in Wugu market, it would attract the attention of many people, because most of the 9th-level qi refining cultivators are the managers of Wugu market. Or the bosses of forces such as Ziad and Pavilion, Wang family, and Zhou family, or members of hunting teams and hunting teams. In short, the number is very small. But now, more and more 9th-level foundation building masters appear in the market, and even foundation building masters often appear, including both independent cultivators and cultivators from various forces. While this brings development, it is also a great instability factor. Fortunately, Zhao is here to guard and solve many problems. Even if he can't solve it, there is still Fukinya, who is at the 4th level of foundation building, who is enough to cover most of the things. It is worth mentioning that after solving the double snake tattoo, Fukinya went into seclusion directly and successfully broke through to the 4th level of foundation building. She is now the most powerful person in the entire Wugu market. But many people don't know her existence, and she almost never appears in front of the world. Only in very rare cases will she appear in secret. Seeing the changes in Wugu market, Zhou Daocheng was naturally very happy. The increase in the number of cultivators and the increase in strength means that the benefits that Wugu market can bring to a certain extent will increase. The only thing that needs to be done is to expand and strengthen defense to ensure order in the market. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.